1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome in. Buckle up. I'm excited for today's next 3 hours as we head into a 3-day weekend, Kev. How about that? I'm going to give a round of applause for the 3-day weekend.
I appreciate that.
Now, I'm taking the round of applause back because we're going to be welcomed by a lot of snow come Monday. At least that's what the old, forecasters say. And, you just had to do it. I still blame you.
Me.
From the second that you cracked on the air that you said, you and Shayla talked about how there was – that you guys were, in January, man, we may not get any snow. We may be lucky. We may not. Well, that's all we've gotten since
all
then.
downhill, man. And it's going to be cold this weekend. So Valentine's Day, cuddle up, get some hot cocoa, get a good movie.
Oh, with that being said, it is Valentine's Day weekend. So today, coming up in a bit, we'll have our Valentine's Day theme segment coming up. We'll take a look at every quarterback in the NFL, and we're going to find out just how cozy they are, just how comfortable, what kind of relationship are these quarterbacks in with their particular teams. We're going to take the pulse of how much are these quarterbacks going to enjoy their lovers weekend, the Valentine's Day weekend. How much are they loving their team right now? We're going to go through quarterback by quarterback and find out if they're married to their team or if they're the side piece to their team. We're going to find out coming up here in just a moment. How about this? J.J. Watt, officially a free agent. The Houston Texans just outright released him. They have enough going on. You have a quarterback who has vowed that he has played his last game in Houston, and then you have ownership coming out and saying that he is a Texan, that he is going nowhere, and that they're excited for next season. It's all lip service, but good for them. I think they actually might be buying it. But J.J. Watt on the free agent market is huge. The buzz today is that although we don't know exactly where he's going team-wise, we kind of have an idea what conference he's going. The AFC North getting a lot of buzz. Your Pittsburgh Steelers, my Cleveland Browns, everyone's Cincinnati Bengals team around here. Who knows? The Bengals seem unlikely, but nonetheless, they should be in the conversation, but I haven't heard that team be thrown out into the mix yet, but we'll get into that. But I want to pick up with where we left off yesterday. We're going to get into the J.J. Watt stuff coming up here 10 minutes from now. And real quick, too, this weekend, tomorrow night, UFC 258, Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Excited for that again. Now, you watched UFC? I
watch it a little bit. I'm not a aficionado, but I'm a casual fan.
So Daniel Cormier, I've watched him and Brock Lesnar. I've seen all their fights. I'm a big fan of his, and he's going to be coming on the show coming up here in a bit. UFC analyst now, retired not too long ago. But UFC 258 coming up tomorrow night, 10 o'clock will be the main fight. The prelims begin at 6:30 on ESPN Plus, and the prelims begin on ESPN Plus at 6:30. But the main card, the big fight, of course, 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Plus and on pay-per-view. UFC 258, Usman versus Gilbert Burns, and we're excited to be bringing on Daniel Cormier coming up here in just a little bit. The former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion going to be calling into the show about 4:10 is when we have him on board. So I'm pumped about that. But we've never had a UFC heavyweight champion on the show before. So we're expanding our horizons. So there you go. It's all about growth right now, and that's what we're trying to do, right? Trying something different. But I'm pretty pumped about this. All right. So Urban Meyer, already back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons and not even officially a head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars for a month yet. And I can't tell if this is being overblown or not. I'm not a fan of this hire. I think that anytime you make a hire that creates negative controversy for a position coach that is really not worth having this, I always say, is your position or are you worth the noise? Mm-hmm. And that's what I find myself asking today when it comes to Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is no stranger to controversy. He is no stranger to being in the media coverage on the wrong side, right? So he hires the former strength and conditioning coach from Iowa.
Yep.
And this must have just, he has his press conference yesterday. It was everyone was pretty excited. They're like, Urban Meyer's going to announce his full coaching staff today. We know that Anthony Schlegel, former Buckeye, is a part of that. I thought it was pretty cool, but he's been able to piece together a pretty decent schedule coaching staff. And all that everyone is talking about now is not who the entire coaching staff is, but one particular individual, the former strength and conditioning coach at Iowa, who was let go, who was basically paid $1 million just to go away because over 50 players had come together and accused him of physically abusing players and, of course, using racial He was never accused of using the N-word, but again, we have to act like, oh, the N-word is the only thing that you could say that's going to get you in trouble. He had said a lot of racially inappropriate things, which led to his departure out of Iowa. He has worked with Urban Meyer in the past. The relationship goes back over 20 years. Mm-hmm. We all know why Urban Meyer left Ohio State, and sure, we could sit there and pretend that it was just all about the health issues. I think the health issues really kind of magnified due to the stress and the overwhelming negative media coverage that hit Ohio State that led to his suspension to start the season. Urban Meyer is one of those no nonsense. He doesn't accept no nonsense from his players, and yet that last season at Ohio State, it was all about his nonsense and his coaching staff's nonsense and the stuff that he overlooked because he genuinely looks at the people in his circle as his family, and he's going to do anything for his family. And the overall headline of the Zach Smith stuff that happened maybe was worse than what it actually was behind the scenes. If we're just talking about the stuff that was delivered to his office, there were no official reports of whether or not he actually laid hands on her, but we do know that that there was reports of abuse in the past, and that Urban Meyer continued to overlook that, continued to keep him on the staff. And I always say this, for a guy like him, and for a guy like Iowa's former strength and conditioning coach, and his name is Doyle. His name is
Doyle.
Chris Doyle. So Chris Doyle, the former strength and conditioning coach for Iowa, now strength and conditioning coach for the NFL Jaguars team under Urban Meyer. You have to ask yourself, it's not like this is one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, best defensive coordinators in the country. Not that I'm saying it's okay to bring someone on that's racially insensitive, Kev, but what I mean is if you are going to deal with all the noise, if you are going to deal with all the backlash, if you are going to deal with all the negativity that's going to come from this hire, why a strength and conditioning coach? Why is this worth it? Why was a wide receivers coach in Zach Smith, or not even a wide receiver? Yeah, it was a wide. Why a wide receivers coach? Why are you willing to risk everything for these positions that just aren't worth it? Now, I am not saying that it's okay to overlook it if they are a offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, but if they're a super big name at a particular coaching position, I get why maybe you would say, you know what, I don't care. We really need him. We really need him. Do you really need Doyle? And is all this noise really worth it? Did you really need Zach Smith? And was all that noise really worth it? That's what I find myself questioning Urban Meyer for right now. I heard Keyshawn Johnson talking about it on his show earlier today. It's whatever your opinion is of Doyle at this point, it doesn't matter. You still got to question Urban Meyer's judgment because he literally put this guy on the staff knowing that the backlash was going to be through the roof. And you got to just keep asking yourself one more time before I pass it to you, Kev, is it worth it? Is a strength and conditioning coach, a guy that really no one had even heard of until he was in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons? Is he worth it? Is having him on your staff that vital, that important, that necessary, that you are going to go through all of this and already start things off awkwardly? Keep in mind, this isn't a roster that's already finalized. You don't even know who your quarterback is yet. Wink, wink. We kind of know who it is, but you've yet to even have him in an official practice. This is a roster that was purposely, destroyed to get to this point, to have the number 1 overall pick to start the rebuild. So you already are making your team, who I thought was going to be a kind of decent free agent destination with Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer and a positive buzz around the team. Now there's a negative buzz around the team that's going to make it difficult to go after free agents, and they have a lot of cap space, and they're about to draft Trevor Lawrence here in the next couple of months. But now I'm just like, again, anything that could make you irrelevant or make you relevant to the point to where they don't want to play for you, why risk it? Is he worth it? No, this just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like he didn't learn a thing at Ohio State. And that's the problem I have with all of this, because I like Urban overall. I was pulling for him in this situation, but he just doesn't seem to get it. Tone deaf seems to be the phrase used since this was announced yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, it's very tone deaf. And one thing I'll say about Urban Meyer, if you're in his inner circle, you're going to be taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that, we had John Gibson on, former player for Urban Meyer at Bowling Green. And those are some of the things that he told me. Like, if you're in Urban Meyer's good graces, he'll make sure he takes care of you. And that's exactly what this looks like. I'm not sure that Chris Doyle needs too much taken care of. I mean, he did get his contract bought out from Iowa. He still got $1 million for that. So, everything that's been going on with Urban Meyer dating back to his days at Florida, we all seen the meme that came out about, the percentage of players that were on that championship team that got arrested and everything like that. The situations the small situations he had at Ohio State, and then the big situation he had at Ohio State and everything like that. It's just exactly what Keyshawn was talking about this morning. I actually was in the car and I heard it. It is tone deaf. It is tone deaf about everything that, this country's been going through the last 4 years, or forever, to be perfectly honest, but it really magnified these last 4 years, especially this past summer with everything going on. You hired this guy, and I'm with you. Like, we're not condoning anything, anything that anyone does as physical harm or verbal abuse to anybody. But if it's going to be somebody, it's got to be somebody that is producing. Like, knock on wood, not saying that he does this, but like if it was a Eric Bieniemy, you know what I'm saying? It will be like, okay, well, he is the offensive coordinator of the last year's most high potent offense. So, okay, maybe we can just turn a blind eye to this or something like that. But you're hiring a strength and conditioning coach. I mean, as many connections as Urban Meyer has, as long as he's been in the coaching game, you would imagine he could have his pick of the litter. He could pick anybody to come coach for him. He could, I know Ohio State fans don't want to hear it, but he could have dialed up Ohio State. And Coach Mick would have been there. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's like that. Like, out of all the guys you could have chose with all your connections, you chose to choose him. It just speaks to, hey, I'm going to take care of my guys. That's what it sounds like to me.
457-9464. The phone lines are officially open to you. And I want your guys' take. Is this being overblown? I heard Max Kellerman today say, man, this is over before it even starts. I don't think it is to that level. I'm just strictly speaking on Urban Meyer's just tone deaf. It's just tone deaf. It's a horrible decision. And I remember when he came out initially, Kevin announced that, he wasn't going to touch Ohio State's coaching staff. I remember saying, you know what? That's weak to me. I thought that was the first sign of weakness from Urban Meyer. Charlie. We talk about loyalty all the time. We talk about how Urban Meyer's biggest weakness is he's loyal to a fault. He's loyal to a fault to where it impacts whether he plays the right quarterback. He's loyal to a fault to where, he lets things slide with certain players, not on the field. I mean, I think he holds, and again, I think he holds his players and coaching staff to a higher standard on the field than he does off the field. Right? Like, he demands excellence. I hear that all the time. Urban demands excellence. Yeah, on the field. Mm-hmm. He wants hardworking men, great people on the field, but it doesn't seem like he has that same standard for who you are off the field. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing, you could sit here and dissect every coach's staff and probably find one or two bad apples that can make them look bad. But the difference is when you talk about vetting guys, Urban Meyer just seems to have a pattern of vetting guys. I always hear him do these interviews where, man, they vet their men. They make sure that they're good quality men. Well, we hear a lot of coaches say that, but you seem to be one of the only ones that constantly has red flags popping up left and right that actually lead to disasters that blow up your careers or that blow up your jobs in certain, situations. So I have a hard time defending this or backing it up. I don't think that this is that it's over before it starts, like Max Kellerman alluded to earlier today. I don't think it's anything like that, but I do think it could be a pattern early. When Urban Meyer said that he was not going to strip the Ohio State coaching staff of anybody, I was like, that's weak. If I'm a Jaguars fan, if there's anyone out there that's a Jags fan, if I'm a Jaguars fan, I'm already pissed at Urban. I'm like, that's a weak move. You're the head coach of the Jacksonville. You're in the NFL. I don't care what your relationship was with Ohio State before. If you care more about their success than about your success in Jacksonville, then we don't want you as a head coach. Mm-hmm. Mariotti should have been the first. If like I said, if there was going to be a controversial move that he was going to make, it needed to be going to rock the boat at Ohio State and taking Mariotti with them. Because Mariotti's actually the best. Like, he is the guy that you want. And you settled for a guy because you were too loyal to a fault, because he was too loyal to Ohio State to go knock on his door to bring him to the NFL. He settled for this distraction, which has led to this. It might be forgot about. We're going to get closer to the draft. You're going to draft, Trevor Lawrence. You're going to win 5, 6, 7 games. He's going to look like a future MVP, and that's what we're going to be focused on. But for right now, is it worth it? I don't know, because you may get past it. We may never revisit this again. But if it comes back to this is totally on Urban Meyer. Any in the locker room distractions, on-field distractions that happen because of this move right here is 1,000,000% on Urban Meyer. But Buckeye fans, I'm telling you, I know you loved when he said, I'm not going to touch the coaching staff. That was a weak move on his part because, again, loyal to a fault. His loyalty to Ohio State has kept him from being a true cutthroat winner in the NFL, and that's the problem I have when it comes to that.
I'm with you. He could have picked anybody. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have to be Coach Mick.
That's what Keyshawn said. He goes, I mean, what's the gap between who he is and maybe the next available strength and conditioning coach?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, why him? Why do you need
exactly
him?
What I was going to say. Like, you could pick anybody. You're Urban Meyer. Even if you don't have the connection to that strength and conditioning coach, you're Urban Meyer. So they're going to listen. But you settle for this guy, your friend, again. And you know what I'm saying? That type of stuff puts you in a bad position. I mean, we've all been there. We've all had like part-time jobs in high school where one of your buddies that's not reliable asks you to put him on at the job where you're working. And you don't do it because you don't want his stain on your resume.
Yeah, I talked to him. Oh, he wasn't in a good mood. I couldn't talk to him today. Oh, yeah, I gave him your resume. I'll talk to him about it. He said he'd get back with me. He never got back with me.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah, and so we've been there. But in the Urban Meyer case, he's steadily taking their resume. He's turning it into the bosses. He's pushing for his guys to get on. And, you know, as many good things that he's done for his players and his former coaches and putting them in positions to succeed and everything like that, this one is bad. And we can surely name some other ones that have just been very questionable on his track record.
All right, 457-9464. I'm not a fan of the decision of Urban Meyer to go about this. I'm not a fan of it at all. I just don't think it's worth it. I'm not saying that, you know, you could say and do racist things if you're an offensive coordinator who's really good, then you can overlook it. But all I'm trying to say is that if you're going to overlook something, why is it that, I mean, this is what's crazy about Urban Meyer. Like, some coaches have been, like Pete Carroll got destroyed for stuff with Reggie Bush. Mm-hmm. A guy that I look at that if you're going to cheat, Reggie Bush is the kind of guy that you cheat to get on your roster. And if you get caught, so what? I always hear Bobby Carpenter say, charge it to winning. That's kind of how I look at it. But Urban Meyer, you're cheating with ugly chicks. Like, that's what you're doing. Like, if you're going to cheat, she better be hot, right? Like, if you're going to cheat, she better be hot. And Urban's,
that's why it's called mess up.
Yeah. Like, he's getting his career messed up over wide receivers coaches. And, you know, the wide receiver coach at Ohio State is really, really good right now. So I don't mean to disrespect Mr. Hartline, but, you know, Zach Smith, was Zach Smith worth it? No. And is this guy, Doyle from Iowa, worth it? No. The fact that Urban's willing to put his team in jeopardy over these random positions, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It speaks to his loyalty, and it also speaks to the loyalty that his players and coaches have to him, because he's sticking his neck out on the line for him. So, I mean, I don't think anything's going to happen. I personally don't think anything's going to happen. I think it's going to be smooth. I disagree with Max Kellerman 1,000%. I think everything's going to be perfectly fine with Chris Doyle. He's going to be on his best behavior. I'm 1,000% sure Urban Meyer talked to him like, look, I'm hooking you up. Don't blow it. And I don't think he's going to blow it. I think he's going to come in there and ready to work and do his job.
He'll be walking in with his Black Lives Matter T-shirt. I mean, he's going to he is going to be on his best white behavior. I tell you that much. I mean, you're right, but like, that's the thing. He's having to act a certain way instead of just being a certain way. Mm-hmm. I would rather have people around me that are being a certain way, not acting a certain way. You shouldn't have to tell Doyle to act right.
Correct.
That's what you see what I mean.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing at all. You're right. I'm just saying he's going to be on his best behavior, and he's going to come in there and do his job and go home. And I don't foresee anything crazy happening, because I'm sure Urban Meyer's had this conversation with him. So I hope nothing but the best for Urb, even though I'm not like the biggest Urban Meyer fan in the world. People wreck me all the time when I say that. I know things that you guys don't know about Urban Meyer. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but the message board said that he's a really good guy, and you know that's
a great guy, great coach.
I know, and he is.
And it all goes back to him taking care of his own. And you know what? At the end of the day, when you do take care of your own, especially at the college level, you got kids that are run through a brick wall for you. In the NFL, I'm not sure how that plays.
You might be the brick wall.
Out. Exactly.
Like, you're going to be like in college, you're going to have kids, like you said, that'll run through a brick wall for you.
Because he's bending over backwards, doing everything in his power to put you in a position to reach your goals. And he does the same thing for his coaches. And that's great. But it's this one, is it worth it? Like, is it worth it? I mean, like I said yesterday, I believe people deserve a second chance. And I believe Chris Doyle deserves a second chance. But if I'm Urban Meyer, I'm just like, man, your second chance can't be with me right now. Or you can't be the lead strength and conditioning coach. You can be the assistant to the assistant, something like that. Yeah, like I just can't put you in that position where I'm going to be ridiculed my first interview.
I don't know. I completely get it. And again, I don't, like I said, this particular situation, if Doyle's hired by any other team, there's going to be a little comment about it on a show or two here or there, and then you move on.
But he wasn't going to get hired by anybody else.
And because it's Urban Meyer, though,
right,
is, you know, and maybe not this year, but I believe at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not in the NFL, but the college ranks, he probably would have been swooped up at some point. But all right. But I wanted to open up with that just to get quick reaction on Facebook. Doug Morgan says, what did this guy do? I missed the first part of the show and haven't listened to the radio today. Doug, he was released from, there was a long investigation into Iowa. About 50 players came forward and talked about how, the abuse from the verbal abuse, and that, when I say physical abuse, not like, beating the crap out of these guys, but constantly shoving guys, pushing guys to the ground, just stuff that you can't put your hands on these guys. Like, we're not talking grabbing them by the face mask, and that's probably not even allowed today either, but grabbing them by the face mask and pulling them around. We're talking about literally yanking them to the ground, shoving them to the ground. If they messed up on a play, he would walk up to them and literally shove them to the ground as hard as he could. He would do that kind of stuff on top of the racially insensitive jokes and comments he would make to the players. If a black player would mess up, he would literally, the things in the report, I can't even say the things that he had said. He never said the N-word as if that's as if, oh, well, he's fine then. No, the stuff he said was inexcusable. And it's just, when Urban Meyer says we vetted him, that means you read the same report we did and you still thought it was okay? Okay. All right, we'll be back in a moment. 457-9464. If you want to get in on this conversation about Urban Meyer, you're more than welcome. We have a couple calls on hold we're going to get to on the other side. We're going to transition to J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt right now, his name is trending all over social media. The Houston Texans announced earlier this morning that they are going to release the 10-plus year vet and one of the best defensive players in NFL history and still probably in the NFL today. In fact, last season was one of his better seasons. It's just it got overlooked because, well, the Texans, and they were no good last year. But where does he end up next? Cleveland? I'm not just saying that because I'm a Browns homer, but I think it's a realistic landing spot, and Pittsburgh seems to be making its way around too. Can we have a Watt family reunion in Pittsburgh? We're going to get to all of that on the other side of the break. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 28. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 18. And tomorrow will be cloudy, a high near 28. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This week at Macy's, use your coupon or Macy's card and get an extra 20% off just in time for Valentine's Day. Save on top of already great deals like 35 to 55% off dazzling diamonds, gemstones, and more. And sleek handbags and wallets from Kipling, Nine West, Inc., and more top designers. Now 25% off. Plus, Star Money bonus days are going on now. Learn more at Macy's.com/Star Money. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't get to the big game? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. Put you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Stop by and experience the crazy cool showroom, the top brands, excellent service, and knowledgeable staff. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune in to Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sure, we can help you knock that oil change right off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge full synthetic motor oil and an STP extended life oil filter for just $29.99, plus a $10 bonus reward if you're an AutoZone Rewards member. Not a member? We can sign you up fast, right here in store or on AutoZone.com. Getting the job done just got easier. Terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC.
Dayton Flyers basketball fans, don't miss Talking Out Loud with Sully every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Game recaps, game previews, visits from former Flyer greats, and more. It's a show by the fans for the fans. Talking Out Loud with Sully, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Wear red and be loud. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Charlie, call back. We are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Luckily, I didn't say anything mean about Charlie because, I almost had a Tom Brenneman moment there. I mean, the mic was on. Now, I didn't say anything dumb. I'm just saying, I didn't know the mic was on. So, Charlie, give us a call back. We'll get you back on the show, man. 457-9464. That's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. J.J. Watt. 10 years with the Houston Texans, 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year winner. He had 101 sacks. He had 61 passes defended, 494 tackles, 25 forced fumbles, 3 receiving touchdowns. 3 receiving touchdowns. So there's that. But arguably the best player in franchise history, of course, for the Houston Texans. And they just outright released him earlier today. J.J. Watt on the free agent market. And now the fun part. I'm glad we're not talking about quarterbacks for a change. I'm glad that we're mixing it up a bit. But
I'm sure we'll get there.
Oh, I'm sure. Just give us time. But when I look at this situation, J.J. Watt had a very good year last year. In fact, the Pro Football Focus had him as a top 5 pass rusher last year. I mean, he was healthy for once. My biggest fear about him and complaint, even when a friend of mine, Josh Innes, does a show in Houston, and he constantly, every time I tune in to listen to him for a bit, he's always ripping Watt, saying yes, he's a great player, but he's always hurt. Constantly hurt, always hurt. That's my biggest concern about Watt. Now, he was healthy this past year, so that's, hopefully he could stay that way. But now you just sit back and wonder, where can he end up? Where does he go? And a lot of teams that keep popping up, the San Francisco 49ers, I find that to be a potential interesting destination, especially a team that's already very solid defensively. You have Nick Bosa already. I mean, imagine having those 2 guys right there for your pass rush. I mean, that's unbelievable. And there's a lot of teams who already have a solid pass rusher that are just looking basically to make them tag team champions at that point. The Niners would be interesting. Some of the other teams, the Titans name has been brought up before, and they tried to get, they got Jadeveon Clowney last year. That didn't work out. They obviously needed that pass rush. You have Seattle. They have, restrictions right now money-wise. That whole thing with Russell Wilson earlier in the week was basically a cry for help, telling and urging the front office to get some offensive line help, but they don't have a lot of cap space. You have a quarterback making $35 million a year, not his fault. You accept the money that they give you, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to be able to go out and put legit offensive linemen in front of you. Now, as I said earlier in the week, though, You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, three of their offensive linemen, Kev, are all Division II college players.
Yeah.
Like that's what's crazy about that time. And then the Wirfs kid, they have the other two offensive linemen, one from Penn State and the Wirfs kid from Iowa. So, the Bucs offensive line wasn't made up of a Big Ten All-Star team. They're all a couple year guys. So to your point, it is about having the right front office to be able to go out and kind of pick through the weeds and find, the talent that's hidden in those deep weeds. And that's going to be up to the Seahawks. But they would be an interesting fit for Watt, but financially they can't do it. We're talking about a guy that makes $16 million a year in JJ Watt, and definitely a difference maker. He's going to be an instant difference maker, whatever defense he ends up on. And now we get to the point where this gets interesting. All his two brothers play for your Pittsburgh Steelers, and that seems to be where everyone is putting their eyes towards and saying, "Oh, this is easy. It's done. It's Pittsburgh." I don't see that being the case. Now, I wouldn't love it as a Browns fan, but from just a general football fan, from a storyline perspective, that would be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Three brothers all playing on the same team, that would be pretty dang cool. And two elite brothers, by the way. I mean, J.J. Watt and T.J. Watt. I mean, T.J. Watt was running for Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, we're talking about two elite defensive players. It makes all the sense in the world from a fantasy land perspective, but from a fantasy land perspective, yes. But from a financial plan perspective, no. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Pittsburgh is literally having to go to Big Ben to restructure his contract so that they can, eliminate that $40 million cap hit that they're going to experience. And I'm just curious, how much of that are they going to be able to eliminate? And with what's left, they still have a lot of guys on their own roster now that they're trying to re-sign. I think Pittsburgh's out. Unless Watt comes out and takes a bare minimum contract, I don't see him in Pittsburgh, Kev. How much does he want to play with his brothers? That's really going to depend on whether or not he plays in Pittsburgh or not. Because financially, I just don't see it. And if Pittsburgh does free up any kind of decent change, you're not going to use it all on one player. You're going to have to disperse that to fill some holes.
It's going to be, when they restructure Ben's contract, they're going to be restructuring to pay his brother and Minka Fitzpatrick. That's how they're going to be divvying up Big Ben's money. I look at it as a four-way race. I got my two teams that if he's willing to take a lower contract, if he's willing to take a lower contract and not get what he's worth, it is the Rams and the Steelers. If he's willing to get what he's worth and be on a contending team, it is the Browns and the Titans. I think it's as simple as that. If he's willing to take a major pay cut, the Rams and Steelers are in place. If he wants best of both worlds, he goes to the Browns or the Titans.
Yeah, right now, I mean, a lot of people, and I want to ask Bengals fans this. Why not you? Why not the Bengals? That's my biggest question I have is like, this would be my concern if I'm a Bengals fan. Why is your name not being brought up for any major free agents that are out there? You have major holes to fill. You're in year 2 of a rookie quarterback contract for Joe Burrow. I thought, are the Bengals going to pull a Reds and spend all their money last offseason and just sit back and just hope that talent, takes a step forward this coming up season? I mean, what's the dealio? And for those of you thinking that the Anthony Munoz II and the Sewell kid from Oregon, that he's going to be there, Atlanta today came out and said that they are very interested in him, that they have a quarterback. Yes, there's always time to get a quarterback in the future, and that whoever's sitting there at their spot, it's not as if those quarterbacks are a lock, so they're not going to take a quarterback just to take one. When you have that high of a pick, you got to take the best player that's there, and that's going to be that offensive lineman out of Oregon. So Cincinnati may not even end up with him. So I'm just, and that's from, obviously Watt, not an offensive lineman, clearly, but I'm just saying, like, why are we not hearing about the Bengals being more aggressive in free agency? Keep hearing, Tooney's going to be, they're going to go after Tooney, and he's going to require a large sum of money. So He will not be a Cincinnati Bengal next year. He will not be a Bengal next year. And I've been screaming about Tooney being a Bengal for years. Well, a year and a half, but still, for a year and a half, I've been screaming about Tooney being a Cincinnati Bengal, that they should go after him. They should do everything that they can to get him here. He'd be closer to home. We've heard all of that, but he is in a situation that he can go and get good money.
Right.
And I don't think the Bengals are going to do that. So when we talk about Watt, maybe the Bengals right now aren't in a position to get him because it's not like they're Watt away from being anything significant, but Watt should be a part of your plan, not your plan. Not, we're going to get Watt this offseason and see what we get in the draft. But I just don't get why we're not hearing more hunger and drive from the Bengals front office, because my goodness, look around the league. The trend of these teams with rookie quarterbacks on their deal, they're killing it right now. The AFC's killing it. The Bills, the Browns, the Chiefs, the Ravens, everyone's killing it on their quarterbacks on rookie deals. And there you are taking your sweet ass time. It's nauseating. It's nauseating. But to your point, real quick. Oh no, go ahead.
No, just the JJ Watt thing about him to the Bengals, I don't see it at all. I see JJ Watt, I believe he's like 31, 32 maybe. At this point in your career, it's about trying to get that Super Bowl ring. And as good as the Bengals offense is going to be next year and as much money they can probably throw his way, I don't think that he's in a position to be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to go down to Cincinnati and this is basically a real rebuilding situation. That's exactly what was going to be happening in Houston. He could just stay there in nice weather and stay with a familiar franchise, familiar situation that he's known for. I don't think that the Bengals are in play at all. I really think it's down to those four teams: Rams, Steelers, Browns, Titans.
All right, 457-946 457-9464 Bengals fans. I mean, again, the Bengals aren't in this conversation for Watts, but I guess the question I have is shouldn't you be bothered that you are not? I mean, you have a lot of holes out there that you need to fill. You're going to have to fill it in free agency anyways, and this guy just becomes available, and all these teams in the AFC, especially the AFC North, are being brought up left and right, and your name's not even in it at all. Look, and let's say this. If I'm the Bengals, I do this. I don't spend any money on Watt, but I don't spend money on Watt because I'm going to spend all my money on Tooney, because Watt's going to most likely end up with Pittsburgh or Cleveland, and your quarterback, who you could not protect last year, who had a season-ending injury in Week 11, Tooney needs to be who you go and get to make sure that you lock that side up, because to me, it's worth overpaying to get him, because you got to protect him. Because if Watt does end up in Cleveland, now you have Myles Garrett. Now you have Watt. There's rumors of the Browns going after Bud Dupree. They're going to go after him hard. And if Bud Dupree doesn't get the money that he's asking for in Pittsburgh, he's out. He is going to go.
He's good as gone.
So, and a lot of times when players leave situations like that, they kind of like to venture off within the division because they want to go at the team that didn't find them valuable enough to keep and spend money on. So there's a good chance. Rich, I texted a buddy about it earlier. I go, this is the big picture offseason for the Browns. Get everything you can in the draft. Richard Sherman, Bud Dupree, Watt. Call it an off season. Hello, AFC North Championship in 2021. That needs to be their focus. But 457-9464. Here's some Bengals fans on Facebook. Let me make sure people can read these for those who are on Facebook, because, I'm getting older and can't, apparently. The Bengals are not a proven franchise yet. He will not look there. Charles, well, how much longer are we going to be saying that about the Bengals? It's year 2 of Joe Burrow. How long does he need? How long do they need? It didn't take the Chiefs long. It didn't take the Browns long. It didn't take the Ravens long. It didn't take the Bills long. Why is it taking the Bengals long? What are they waiting for? I mean, after this year, you're in year 3, and after year 3 is when you start talking about paying your quarterback. At that point, Joe Burrow, it's not about paying him. He might just say, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. I don't want to sign long-term until, you didn't even get me pieces when you had the financial flexibility to get me pieces. So why would I sign long-term with the Bengals if it's going to be even more difficult to get me pieces once I sign a long-term contract? That's a realistic concern that Bengals fans need to have about Joe Burrow. If they don't get big pieces this year, next year is, year 2. You head into year 3. After year 3 is when you have those conversations about extensions. The Browns are having that now about Baker Mayfield. That's all I'm saying is they, big picture, they got to be really concerned about that. Tyler 5 says, because Mike Brown is too cheap, he won't do anything to help us get better and win games. Paul Blanton, Paul the Bengal fan, says Mike Brown is too cheap to go after Watt. It's not like Mike Brown to go after good free agents. They're not hungry and they have no drive. Mike Brown doesn't care.
Where are these Bengals fans at when the season's going on? Because we get a totally different Bengal fan during the season. These Bengal fans, I believe, are realistic and shooting it straight. But where are they at when the season's going on? Because I haven't heard any of that type of conversation. Whenever we hear Bengal conversation, it's how great Joe Burrow is, and we're going to turn it around, everything like that. And it's great to be optimistic and have faith in your franchise and your guys. But I really like where those guys are coming from because they're shooting straight from the hip. They're keeping it real. They're talking about how terrible Mike Brown is when it comes to like spending money on guys. Like that's how the whole NFL sees it. But the thing about it is with Watt and the Bengals in general is they'll go after guys will sign there, but it won't be big guys like that. like a J.J. Watt. Guys that's going to be looking for a job like, Von Bell. He's a name, obviously, to us because we're a Buckeye Nation and everything like that. But the reality, Von Bell was average. We with the Saints. He needed a gig. Bengals dialed him up. He plays. He has a couple big plays for the Bengals this year. I don't think they're going to be getting any impact free agents like that, like a J.J. Watt. I think they'll get some solid players that are NFL caliber, but I don't think they'll be getting any impact players, especially on defense. I really think, just like you, the focus for the Bengals should be the offensive line to protect your investment. That is Joe Burrow, and let everything else take care of itself. I'm with you. Like, spend all your money on offense. If you're going to be bad, if you're going to be a bad team, at least be that type of team that puts up a ton of points and your defense gives up a ton of points. At least you'd be entertaining to watch.
But then you feel good heading into next offseason where it's like, okay, like, for instance, that's exactly what happened with Cleveland this year. This year, the offense, it just clicked. Their defense was garbage, but their passing game finally clicked. Their run game was there from the very beginning, and it was finally complemented by the pass game. They have offense. I mean, they did all of that without OBJ. This is how good the Browns are offensively right now, is that they're saying, we did all this without OBJ. We're going to add OBJ back, head into next season, and he could just take this offense and explode even more. Or they could say, hey, okay, he's still in our way. We're just going to move him. I mean, how good a position is that to be in, that you can have a talent like OBJ and not need him? Like, the Browns are set because they've made the offense the focus for the last couple of years. And guess what? Now that the defense is the problem, this is the fun off season where you get to go out and get every defensive piece you can get your free agent hands on, whether it's Richard Sherman, Bud Dupree, now J.J. Watt. I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, their offense is set. They wrapped up their offensive line for a couple of years. Their receivers are set for a couple of years. Their running backs, they extended, or at least, in Kareem Hunt last year. Chubb's going to be coming up for an extension soon, and Baker's heading into year 4 now. The offense is set. Now they get to focus on the defense. So I'm with you. This offseason, the Bengals, offense, go to sleep, wake up, yawn, offense, go back to sleep, wake up again, offense, take a crap, get off the toilet, go get more offense, maybe eat a little something, crap again, go get more damn offense, and then worry about the defense after that. But taking a couple million and spitting it here on the defense and on the offense here and there, you're not getting better quick enough to be a force anywhere. Let's go to the phones, 457-9464. Regardless of your team, J.J. Watt, where does he end up? Where do you want to see him, and where do you not want to see him end up? I know in Cleveland, I don't want him in Pittsburgh. It's bad enough they got Watt and Bush coming back next year and stuff. Like, I mean, there's going to be a lot of question marks on offense, but defense, still got to worry about the Steelers defensively. I don't want him in Baltimore, and I don't want him in Cincinnati either. I don't want Baker having to worry about Watt coming at him left and right. I want him in Cleveland. To the phones we go, Kev. We got McKinney. McKinney, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
Good. Did you see a kid from Wayne verbally committed to Alabama today, Elijah Brown?
Well, I like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Brown for raising such a smart, bright, and reflective son, and guaranteeing that they will have a house bought for them in the future.
There you go.
Recruiting fire.
Remember who your friends are.
Don't blow up the spot.
Hey, it's like you say sales. ABC, always be close. Close the deal. But what I called to talk about, this thing that's just got me absolutely crazy, is why does anybody want J.J. Watt? Why do you want somebody that is wearing a piece of equipment that looks like it came out of a $6 million man reject pile? Every 3 to 5 weeks, J.J. Watt screaming, coming out of his tunnel with fire extinguishers shooting around him, hollering with that piece of equipment on, doing jack nothing. Keep your American Family Insurance commercials, make your money. Don't go to Pittsburgh and mess up your brothers, because the last thing you need to do is have the big brother come in wanting to steal thunder from the little brothers. They're not going to put up with that. They've got a family. You don't need this guy to come in there and upset the apple cart. J.J. Watt is overrated. He has been in the league 10 years?
Yeah.
I relate that to Earl Campbell. You could have got a 15-year career if you step out of bounds every once in a while, or if you ease up on somebody every once in a while. But no, you cost your team every week one big play where you get overmatched or overplayed because you shoot shot out of a cannon, or they just go right past you because you can't move because you got the $6 million man triple X knee brace, arm brace, wrist brace to go on with the neck brace and the titanium chips in your elbow. I don't need this guy on my team for any reason. He is a distraction. You talk about distractions. I don't need. I'll put it this way. I will get him a sponsorship for French's Mustard because I don't want that hot dog on my bench.
Why is he I'm just curious, why is he a distraction?
Camera hog, media hog. He is considered one of the quote unquote, I'm doing the air quote thing that Kev likes to do.
You do that a lot.
I know.
You do that a lot.
I say it a lot too.
It, man. Hey, Kev, but I gave you the footnote, man, so you know where it came from.
For sure.
Oh, man.
So he is a media hog. He is the face of the NFL. People love him. He's on Subway. I want you on the club, not in the tub, in a suit. You look great at the NFL honors thing. Whoever your tailor is, the boy is on point. I give him 100. However, I need you to be out on the field being a leader, not being the guy that's growling and snarling and Brock Lesnar and all making all that faces and gyrations. I want you making big plays. I cannot build a winner around you. You are a locker room divider. Offense, defense, J.J. Watt is not the kind of person I want on my team to be centered around and have the defense all of a sudden be focused around J.J. Watt. He ain't that good. He's not. Not at 10 years at that position and the way he's been hurt. No way. Diminishing returns. It's return on investment, and there's no investment in J.J. Watt.
All right. Hey, McKinney, good hearing from you. Paulie, the Bengal fan, he just messaged in and said to tell you hello.
Well, you know, Paul, appreciate what you got. Keep rooting for the Bengals. Keep being a realist. Be a homer when it's appropriate to be, but smash them when they need to be smashed. Hey, one more thing before I go. It's a beautiful day out here. 32 degrees. It's going to be cold for the next couple of days. Well, one more thing to warm everybody's heart for Valentine's Day.
Here it goes.
Roll Tide, you know.
Take care, McKinney. Appreciate hearing from you. Good stuff. 457-9464. We're talking J.J. Watt right now and the reaction. I don't know if I don't agree with a lot. I usually agree with a lot, McKinney says. I disagree with a lot of what he said. I've never looked at, maybe it's just a difference of perception. I've never heard or viewed him as being a locker room divider.
Yeah.
I know there was that little rant he went on at the end of the year that it did upset people because he waited so long in the season to do that. But again, I don't care about that. I think Watt is a 10-year guy, a veteran, a guy that you know what you get with him,
right?
Barring he's healthy,
right?
And I think that's why. And I don't think he's not signing a long-time deal. You're not bringing him in to bring him in for 5 years, unless I don't know what the hell he's looking for. I don't even know what the standard contract is. But all I'm saying is if the Brown, if he might kind of tinker around with the 1-year deal, 2-year deal, whatever. If I'm the Browns, I jump on that. If I'm the Bengals, if I'm the Steelers, any team out there, I should be reaching out to him to see what it takes, because we just watched in the Super Bowl pass rushers, offensive linemen, in quarterbacks. That's the key to everybody's success here in 2021. 457-9464. Who's on line 2, Ken?
We got DoorDash Ray.
DoorDash Ray, what up, man? How are you? DoorDash Ray.
Rob?
Who is this? Who we got on this line?
Nobody.
All right. Who's up next then?
It should be Rob then.
All right, Rob. Welcome in, Rob. How are you?
Well, this isn't Rob. It's DoorDash Ray, since Kevin's the master at the panel over there.
Hey.
Quotation. Quotation.
So anyway, I heard you talking a lot of crap a minute ago. You're sitting down, you're taking the crap. Coming up talking about the Bengals going to take another crap. A lot of crap being talked about there, Justin.
That's just another Friday.
J.J. Watt's coming to Oakland, or Las Vegas, whatever you want to call it. He's coming to the Raiders. We're getting rid of Cleveland. Farrell is going to the Texans with a 3rd-round pick, and we're going to get J.J. Watt. Mark my words.
Actually, that does make. I can't see that. I can't see that. I do see the Raiders being actually a very good fit. And look, we're new in this. I want to know how long we're going to be waiting before he officially makes a decision. That's going to be the big key, But the Raiders, that's a good fit. The Raiders drive me nuts because, you had one of the best pass rushers in football that you just let go because you got a new coach that just didn't see him as a part of the plan, which is absolutely ridiculous. So the Raiders, to me, I say that about certain teams all the time. They don't deserve certain things. They don't deserve good defensive pieces. So that's where I'm at with that.
And that letting go of Khalil Mack, let me tell you, we brought a lot of good people in. Josh Jacobs, it transpired in a lot of good draft picks. That draft actually was awesome. Every one of those guys became a starter. So
what have you got out of it? Gruden's the only coach I know that gets 5 to 6 years to really get it going in the NFL. I mean, everyone else. Yeah, Stefanski, boom, he hits the ground running. I just don't get the whole Raiders thing, man. I don't.
But even with Khalil Mack, we weren't winning, so that was his justification on that. He wanted to get something for him, which he did. We got an all-pro running back. He's been great the last couple seasons.
You can get running backs. I sneezed a running back earlier. I sneezed and opened the tissue, and there's a running back sitting right there. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can get running backs everywhere. But I know what you're saying. Look, I do like Josh Jacobs, one of the best backs in the league. I'm 1,000,000% with you. But if you got rid of Khalil Mack, if you feel like you won because you had him because you got rid of Khalil Mack, all I'm saying is, in all seriousness, you keep Khalil Mack. You could have got a great quality back in free agency or later in the draft. But I know what you're saying. I mean, they have holes filled, but they got to start winning, man. No more of this 8-8 stuff. The expectation, they got to win and win at a high level. I don't know how many Gruden gets this mega deal and he's doing half of what some of the better coaches in football are doing. It doesn't make sense.
Well, because you have to have a defense to stop something. I mean, for crying out loud, you can't keep.
If only you had a guy like Khalil Mack. If only you had a guy like Khalil.
He did not. No, he was not covering. Our downfall is our secondary and our safety play. That's all there is to it. We can rush the quarterback all day long, but if we cannot stop, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, which, as you saw, Tampa Bay shut them down. If you have two high playmakers on an offense coming at you, you're supposed to just drop back into good old-fashioned, you got him, shut these two guys down, you can shut the whole team down. But our defense, listen, we can get rid of every coordinator in the world. We just brought this Gus Bradley in and half of the San Diego Chargers, Las Vegas Chargers, whoever you want to call them this day. We brought in their whole defense, their whole defensive coaching staff, and we're going to see what can happen. But
you bring in Bosa with you?
What's that?
Bring in Bosa or Derwin James with you? Or Melvin Ingram? Because those are the players.
You're right. You're right. Exactly right. Don't think that you're not going to try to bring those guys over. When you bring a whole new coaching staff in from a different team, I mean, I just have questions with my team, man. We're spending way too much money, like you said. Gruden, $100 million contract. We're still not winning. And look for Mark Davis. This will be his year. If he doesn't win, Gruden's going to be gone. But, I think we're going to pull it together eventually. I hope so.
All right, well, DoorDash Ray, I like your enthusiasm. I like that you think you're going to get J.J. Watt. The Raiders are, though, a realistic landing spot for him from a team with cap space for sure.
Hey, also, it's an extra $150 if you make 60 deliveries by today and Monday.
Oh, 60 deliveries between now and Monday. It's an extra $150?
That's correct.
All right, well, we're going to end the show early. Me and Kev got some DoorDashing to do.
60. All right.
DoorDash Ray, take care. All right, later. 60. No sleep till Brooklyn.
That ain't happening. I'm chilling. I'm good.
All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. Kev, who's up next?
We have Rob back.
We got Rob back finally since Kev robbed you of your last chance to talk. How are you, sir?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, that caller that called before saying that J.J. Watt's overrated or something, his first 5 seasons, he had over 70 sacks.
Well, I think that's more in regards to who he is right now. Look, but to be honest, any team that gets J.J. Watt, it's not the J.J. Watt of old, and I don't think he's old J.J. Watt, but I think, he's no spring chicken anymore either. You're just going to get a good, solid veteran pass rusher that I think a lot of teams need, but I don't think he's worth $15 million. I promise you that much.
No. I mean, I don't think he's worth $15 million, but I'm sure he's worth a little over 10.
I'd say about 10, 8 to 10 for right now. For where he has health. I mean, he's constantly a health concern. He's very brittle, and he is older. But however, if he is willing to do like a $12, $13 million deal for 1 year, then I find him worth it. But I'm not locking him up to a 2-3 year deal, $15 million per. I ain't doing that.
even if it's just 1 year, and it costs somebody $15 million, if he gets 10 to 12 sacks, it's worth it.
10 to 12. At that point, yes, but you'll be lucky if he plays 10 to 12 games. That would be my biggest concern.
Right, that's true.
So where do you, before we let you go, because we're up against the clock, where do you think he ends up?
Maybe like he wants to probably go to a Super Bowl contender.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a Buffalo or Baltimore on the AFC side, and then on the NFC side, of course, his first choice is going to be probably Tampa Bay.
Tampa, I got to look at, and Ron messaged in Tampa Bay as well. And Ron, you can't get it all, man. Come on, you just got your Super Bowl. You got every free agent last year you wanted. Tampa, they could pull some strings and make it happen. It would be, interesting to see them do that. But no Cleveland love, huh?
No, well, Cleveland can't make it to the Super Bowl. They never have.
Okay, if you say so. Not going to let you rain on my Friday, man. Hey, Rob, good hearing from you. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Have a great weekend.
You as well. All right, folks, that's it. 457-9464. Daniel Cormier going to be calling in here in about 15 minutes. Really excited about that. Again, a big UFC weekend coming up. This weekend, UFC 258, Usman versus Burns. Again, ESPN Plus and pay-per-view tomorrow night. And former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier is going to be calling in, and we'll chat with him in here in just a few moments. Top of the hour next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
The Western Ohio Home Builders Association and 84 Lumber invite you to the Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through the 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Your favorite home improvement specialists and landscape designers all under one roof. If this is your year to upgrade your home's interior or exterior, you do not want to miss this show. Local experts will be on hand to discuss your home improvement project. The Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through February 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Online at Miami County MiamiCountyHomeShow.com.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember: the value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally, someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs, someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
This President's Day at eBay, we want to prove like new is better than brand new. So we're not only giving up to 50% off certified refurbished, but we're adding an extra 20% off coupon too. Because while brand new is nice, it's also twice the price. And if you don't love our like new products, they all come with an industry-leading 2-year warranty. So this President's Day, say goodbye to brand new and find certified amazing deals at eBay, where good is new just got better.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need a dependable body shop, we're here to help, repairing all makes and models. Our technicians have over 125 years experience. That means we can repair your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our department is state-of-the-art with new equipment to get you back on the road quickly. We offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
New to the Wendy's 2 for $5 lineup is their classic chicken sandwich. Go grab a 2 for $5 deal and pick 2 faves like a Dave Single, Nugs, and now the classic chicken sandwich 2 for $5. Price and participation may vary. Limited time.
Hey, Matthew, we need to restock those sleeping bags.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Why don't you cover this register?
Like at Anita's outdoor store. To keep sales climbing, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more. All sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for entry-level machinist. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages with merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, bonus programs, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
The Dell President's Day sale for business is on with up to 50% off PCs powered by Intel Core processors. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Coming up here in just about 10 minutes, former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier is going to be calling into the show. We're going to be previewing and taking a look to tomorrow's big card for UFC 258, Usman versus Burns. Again, a highly anticipated match live on ESPN Plus and on pay-per-view. 6:30 is when the prelims begin. 10 o'clock is when, of course, you get to the meat of everything. So we're pretty excited to be joined by former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier coming up here in just a few moments. He'll be calling in. Real quick, Kev, before we step away to set that interview up, some more reaction on the Facebook feed about where they believe J.J. Watt could end up. Here's one I didn't think about that does make a lot of sense as well. Keith Tolliver says the Packers, the Green Bay Packers.
Coming home.
I think it does come. Yeah, that, I think it makes a lot of sense, but I have to go and look at cap space for all teams because the team that makes the most sense is the team that probably can't get them, and that's Pittsburgh. Unless Watt just takes a family-friendly deal because he wants to be united with his brothers. It's one thing to play with one brother, but to play with two brothers, that's pretty dang cool. It just depends if you like your brothers.
I love my brother. But how many millions I'm going to be having to sacrifice to play with him is the question.
And the thing is, though, he had a deal left on his contract for Houston, right? Mm-hmm. So he's getting paid. Houston's paying him for that last year. So he's getting paid this next year by Houston on top of what he's going to make with whatever team he signs with, from how I understand it. I could be wrong on that. And if for those of you listening, if you know that answer, let me know. But the way I understand it is that the Texans just outright released him. He had another deal left on the season left on the deal. So he's going to be paid for that final year by Houston. You don't just outright let him go and just not get paid, right?
No, you don't get paid.
Oh, so they both so he's not getting paid.
Yeah.
So he might go pursue that. I mean, he was supposed to get paid $16 million for this coming up season with Houston. So that's going to be interesting where he could potentially end up. I don't see Green Bay spending $16 million on him. I just don't. Aaron Rodgers has already come out and said that they want to restructure the deal. He's making $33 million a year. Russell Wilson's getting paid more. There's a lot of quarterbacks ahead of him that are making more. When Baker signs his deal, he could be making more than Aaron Rodgers coming up here in the next year. So if they're fearing that Aaron Rodgers is going to demand that they pay him more, for one, they just may trade him, or they're not going to invest all their money into one player in Watt that you still have to worry about.
Here it is. Watt had 1 year remaining on his contract. He signed in 2014. He was owed $17.5 million in 2021, but the salary was not guaranteed. He is now a free agent and eligible to sign with any team that he chooses.
Well, there you go. We'll get back into this conversation involving J.J. Watt, where he could end up. We didn't get to the Browns fans on the phones. We're going to get to the Browns fans coming up in just a moment. But coming up next, tomorrow night, UFC 258, Usman versus Burns, highly anticipated match live on ESPN Plus and pay-per-view. And to preview that fight, we got former UFC and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier joining us next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 28. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 18. And tomorrow will be cloudy, a high near 28. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
The Flowerman here with the Valentine's Day tradition. A free vase and a dozen roses, only $12.99 at the Flowerman. This is not a dream. A dozen roses and a free vase, only $12.99. Thank you, Flowerman. I got myself excited. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com. It's a tradition.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Does it feel like finding clothes in your fit is impossible? Tired of feeling overwhelmed with options that just aren't right? Let the experts at Stitch Fix do the shopping for you. At Stitch Fix, we make sure each piece is hand-selected for your life. So whether you're staying home or on the go, Stitch Fix has the answer for what to wear. We make it easy to find what works for you. Signing up takes just a few minutes, and styles are delivered directly to your door. Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, your style delivered.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember: the value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally, someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs, someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
This President's Day at eBay, we want to prove like new is better than brand new. So we're not only giving up to 50% off certified refurbished, but we're adding an extra 20% off coupon too. Because while brand new is nice, it's also twice the price. And if you don't love our like new products, they all come with an industry-leading 2-year warranty. So this President's Day, say goodbye to brand new and find certified amazing deals at eBay, where good is new just got better.
O'Reilly. Need new wiper blades? Not sure which ones to buy? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. We'll show you options for your specific car and even install them for free. Right now, save $10 per pair on Bosch Focus wiper blades, plus earn double O Rewards points. There's no better time to replace your wiper blades. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
Hey, what do you want to da-da-da? I don't know. What do y'all think we should da-da-da? Well, what did we da yesterday? Yesterday. Oh, the dolls feel like the same doll these days. I know. Like, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today is Thursday. Oh, no, I forgot to call my mom on her birthday. Oh, no. No.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. That won't change. Not today or any day.
Quote today at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Upgrade to the wiper blades trusted by Rainer Zietlow to break world records. Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades are real-world proven for extreme weather performance that lasts 2 times longer than other blades. The new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades are only available at Walmart.
Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green, the concentrated cleaner that's perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new again. Visit us at simplegreen.com.
Simple Green. Liberty.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now applying 2 pounds of force for acceleration. Really? Turning in 0.3 miles and begin deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles, base coverages only. Availability varies.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash with you live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Listen, stream, and now watch. Excited for UFC 258 coming up tomorrow night. Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Super excited for this fight and the card for tomorrow. Again, tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus and on pay-per-view. Keep in mind the prelims do begin at 6:30. But with talking UFC, I can think of no one better to bring on than to preview tomorrow night's big UFC 258 card. Former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier joining us now. Welcome in, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How about yourself?
Good. We appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. This is a big one tomorrow. You know, every time we have these fights, I just started getting into UFC the last couple of years, and every time we go and watch the fights at a buddy's house, and I'm excited for this one tomorrow. What's the number one thing you're looking for in this card tomorrow, especially the matchup between Usman and Burns?
Obviously, the main event. You know, the main event pops off the page to everyone. You know, everybody's excited about seeing those guys fight. Got a fantastic storyline. You know, the teammates and the friends coming out to fight each other. It don't get much better. You know, we all love drama. You know, it's sad. But we as people, we all love drama, and we all love the drama to bring.
Now, how, you know, you talk about the drama and building up these fights. You know, you guys, I mean, you being a former champion yourself, you guys feed off the crowd, you feed off the atmosphere of these fights. The drama, you know, is always taken to that next level on reacting to the crowd. How different has that been? I mean, you haven't fought with no crowds, in front of no crowds during this stretch, but how difficult is that to have a fight with no fans to feed off of energy and adrenaline wise?
I did the one time, right? It's different. It's much different. You know, the reality is we're so used to fans and so used to building off of the crowd that when you're out there with no one, you know, it's a little bit different. But I think guys have adjusted. Guys and gals have adjusted. They've gotten better at it. And you'll continue to see people get better at it as time goes, you know.
Champ, how do you break down a fight versus when you're calling a fight like you're going to do on Saturday versus when you're going into the battle yourself?
It's just fun, right? Like, I enjoy, obviously, you know, I love calling the fight and watching the fights, but boy, it's so much better when you don't have to deal with the stress of being in the fight, you know? It's fantastic, you know?
Do you ever get that itch to get back in? I mean, when you're watching, I mean, I know you officially retired, but when you sit, you know, alongside the octagon and you're calling these fights, I mean, you still get that itch.
No, I'm good. They literally just asked me a little bit ago, how does it feel watching Tom Brady as a 43-year-old winning a Super Bowl? I go, I feel absolutely nothing. I go, I'm good. They said, really? I said, I am 100% good. I don't feel anything. You know, Tom Brady can take and have as many Super Bowl championships as he wants to. And I'm good.
Real quick, earlier today, Dana White was on ESPN's First Take with Max Kellerman, and they were talking about the potential return of Khabib. The chances of that happening, in your opinion, are what? You know, they talk about it has to be the right person, the right fight, the right build. Do you anticipate that happening in the near future?
I think that's all of it, right? It's all about the right person. I think that's what's going to get Khabib back into the octagon. It won't be just some random, it won't be just any fight. It'll have to be something that really gets him excited competitively.
This one tomorrow night, again, one more time, just want to preview this before we let you go. We appreciate you hanging out with us for this short time, but UFC 258, you know, also hearing Dana White just promote the heck out of this fight earlier today. I mean, Dana White says that Usman has the chance to be one of the greatest fighters ever, and right now he's off to one hell of a start. I think he has the longest winning streak in UFC right now. Of these two, what's your gut telling you as who has the edge heading into this one?
I can't really tell you who has the edge. I know that both of these guys have, they both have advantages, right? Both of these guys are fantastic fighters. They have things that they do well. And obviously, the fact that they were teammates and they trained together for so long will play to this being a more competitive fight. You know, it's, I just think that in terms of matchup, it could not have been matched up any better. And then the fight and the teammate thing only adds to what the fight is.
So with them being teammates and everything, do you see a more prolonged filling out process throughout the first round, or do you think these guys are just going to go at it from the go?
I feel like these dudes are so tired of everything, right? You know, from having to answer all of our questions to having to deal with the idea that they were friends and now they're not friends and all this other stuff, that they just want to go do it. They just want to go fight. They want to go in there and they want to tear each other apart, you know?
That's funny. Watching the Conor McGregor and Poirier fight just a few weeks ago, how do you guys go from just wanting to rip each other's head off to just beating down one another to after the match, you have McGregor just smiling and just, being a lot of sportsmanship, which is something we don't see a lot of from him at times, right? Like, I like the old McGregor. I like the mean McGregor. I don't get how you guys just turn that switch off the second it's done.
Well, it's not everybody, right? And I think that is a new, that's a new part to Conor. He wasn't always the most sportsmanship type of guy. I think right now this is something that he's doing as a father and man to try to improve himself, and I think that's why you saw the kind of McGregor you saw in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if necessarily that is to his benefit, because the guy, the Wild Man was fun. The Wild Man was fun and crazy, and he made for good fights.
Do you anticipate that McGregor returning when we get to that third bout between the two? Does that McGregor return at some point? Or is it what we saw last time? We're just a little friendly after?
I think he has to bring that back. Right? It's part of the intrigue of who Conor McGregor is.
All right, last thing on your way out, UFC 258 tomorrow. For those who have never tuned into a UFC fight, what can they expect in the bout between Usman and Burns tomorrow night at 10 o'clock?
I just expect a beautiful display of violence. These guys are going to bring it, and I cannot wait to be in the octagon or next to the octagon as they really let it all go. I'm excited.
All right, we're excited too. Former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, good enough to hang out with us today on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Daniel, thanks so much, and enjoy your night tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, champ.
All right, good stuff there. 457-9464. Again, UFC 258 tomorrow. That was former UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier and light heavyweight champion. But nonetheless, he talks about how he was fought for a long time and watches Tom Brady still, playing, the Super Bowl and still playing at that level. He has no itch to get back into the octagon, none whatsoever.
I mean, that's real because I haven't played basketball. Obviously, I've never played for real basketball, but like pickup basketball. I haven't played basketball it's going on 3 years, and I get the itch when this like the NBA finals. Like, oh man, I want to go back out there, but then I realize like, man, like my back hurts. My feet hurt, and I am not even out on the court yet. So I get where he's coming from because I can only imagine like he literally got hit in the face for a living for years. So yeah, once you hang it up and once your mind turns that switch off, it's over, man. And you don't want to ever, we see this in boxing, especially like back in, the 80s and the 90s, guys will box well into their late 30s and end up injuring themselves because they're out there for the money or out there for the love of the sport. Nowadays, guys don't have to do that for money. Like he's making a real good living, calling the fights and everything like that. There's so many avenues for retired athletes to make a living and still be connected to the sport that they love. So I commend all these guys that realize when they don't want to do it anymore, they don't have to.
All right, we'll step away for a few moments. And again, opening up the phone lines back up at 457-9464. Valentine's Day is coming up this Sunday, and the Flower Man wants to make sure that he hooks up a lucky winner with a dozen roses to give away to their significant other this coming up Sunday. Again, this Sunday, Valentine's Day. So if you want a chance to win a free dozen roses from the Flower Man, you need to head to Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, and like the show page. Like the show page and follow along, and you'll be automatically entered to win a free dozen roses from the Flower Man. In fact, we had all of our winners reach out today. We contacted them. Some have already picked up their roses. So again, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity here to be in this drawing. Again, we're going to have one more drawing coming up at 5:30. 5:30, your opportunity to win a free dozen roses from the Flower Man, which is perfect timing with Valentine's Day coming up this weekend. All right, I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. We'll step away for a few moments. To win those roses, you got to like the Justin Kinner Show page on Facebook, though. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page, like and follow along, and you'll be able to watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. So there you go. Subscribe, download the Justin Kinner Show podcast as well on your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store. You'll have access to the show in its entirety, as well as select segments and all interviews like the one we just did with former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier. All of that accessible in your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store. We'll be back in just a moment. 457-9464, the number to call in.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
It's not too late. Head to your local candy aisle to pick up that heart-shaped box of Russell Stover chocolates she's expecting and make happy this Valentine's Day with Russell Stover.
The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 special financial relief assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
It's auction time again in North Lima, Ohio with home improvement products and building materials, and it's all online, ending this Tuesday at 12 noon. Go to pbauctions.com and register to bid on name brand home improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more, all sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0% financing on the 21 Honda Passport, Honda CRV, Honda HRV, and the 21 Pilot. Plus, get $0 due at lease signing on the 2020 CRV, Civic Sedan, and HRV for well-qualified buyers. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for complete details. We're on Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
The Western Ohio Home Builders Association and 84 Lumber invite you to the Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through the 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Your favorite home improvement specialists and landscape designers all under one roof. If this is your year to upgrade your home's interior or exterior, you do not want to miss this show. Local experts will be on hand to discuss your home improvement project. The Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through February 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Online at miamicountyhomeshow.com. Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
It's not too late. Head to your local candy aisle to pick up that heart-shaped box of Russell Stover chocolates she's expecting and make happy this Valentine's Day with Russell Stover.
1410 ESPN Radio is Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes on the hardwood. Football may be over, but basketball is just heating up. Support Chris Holtman and his Buckeyes as they battle it out in the toughest conference in all of college basketball, the Big Ten. Every dribble, every shot, every Buckeyes win. Catch it all right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. All right, keep in mind the interview we just did with former UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier. That's going to be up on the website at wingam.com. You can also access it in your Google Play in your Apple Store, Google Play Store. Make sure you go and subscribe and download. Man, learn to talk, Kinner. It's as if you've never, had a show before. Subscribe, download the Justin Kinner Show in your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store, and that interview will be accessible right there as well. Daniel Cormier, former UFC champion, joining us. Look, these fights are pretty dang cool, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not fighting in an empty arena. I mean, they're doing it. That's their livelihood. That's how they make their money. But I'm telling you right now, to me, there's a lot of things you could do. I could play basketball in an empty, in front of no fans. I can play football in front of no fans. But to me, fighting, like that, the adrenaline from the crowd, come on. Have you ever been in a fight with anyone, with no one around? What good is that? What good is that? To me, it's if you, growing up and not getting fights at school, I got revved up because the people in the circle around us, they were we're showing up. There. But now you just sit there, it's just awkward. You're just two weirdos just rolling around together. I'm just no. So no, I
every
couldn't do
slap.
It. So good for them. By the way, there are some fans allowed at these. Now that I think about it, just we're not talking fans up to the rafters and everything like that. But we're live. What's that?
Have you ever been to a big fight, boxing match, or okay? Yeah. I've been to 2 fights out in Las Vegas. Pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool, to see the stars, and they're right there at ringside and everything like that. It's pretty cool to go to a big fight out in Las Vegas.
To Facebook we go. He says, off topic, Justin, will the Raiders cover the spread tonight? -16. Just a yes or no will work for entertainment purposes only. Well, for entertainment purposes only. Let me pull that up. The last I saw was a 16. But yeah, he's right. So Wright State at home tonight, 15-4. They're welcoming Milwaukee. They're a 16-point favorite over Milwaukee.
Get it done.
They've had 6 wins of over 30 or more points. In fact, they're top 4 in the country in scoring margin. And I got into it with some people on Facebook the other day because Schlemmer had posted the top college basketball's top 4 teams in scoring margin. And right away, people jumped on Rice and started ripping them. Well, they don't play anybody. Of course, they're not as good as Baylor and Gonzaga. I'm like, look, I could be a homer at times, but I've never once said that they're even remotely in the same ballpark as Baylor or Gonzaga. It was a simple stat that posted the top 4 teams in scoring margin. And right away, they start devaluing, it's easy to do that when you play in the Horizon League. Well, let's rewind a year ago, Kev. Remember a year ago when UD was number 3 in the country and, UD fans would get so sick of, and Matt Sturgeon, who asked this, I'm not talking about you. Me and him, we don't butt heads anymore on this. We're good. But a year ago, UD, number 3 in the country, and you had Iowa fans and Ohio State fans continuing to bash Obi Toppin and UD for basically saying, well, you're not really the number 3 team in the country. You play A10 schools every night. It's easy to beat up on the A10. It's easy to beat up on non-Power 5 schools. While we here in the Big Ten are literally playing a top 25 opponent every single night, and you're playing Fordham and LaSalle and others. So that they kept saying that last year, and UD fans were furious. They were pissed. They were ticked off. They didn't want none of that. And it's a very reasonable thing to say if you were a Power 5 school saying that to the Flyers a year ago. But UD fans hated it. So you know me, I am all about anti-hypocrisy. I do not put up with hypocrisy. So I made sure but when it came to the Player of the Year argument as well, that Luka Garza at Iowa deserved it more than Obi was their argument, because Obi beating up on the A10 while Luka Garza going up against the best big men in the country on a night in, night out basis in the Big Ten. A very valid argument. But Flyers fans hated hearing that. They did not want to hear it. They were so ticked off. And as much as people think I hate, I said, look, the Flyers last year was one of those situations where I didn't need them to play somebody to know that they were somebody. We knew how damn good UD was a year ago.
Right.
But those arguments were valid, right? Not in the eyes of Flyer fans. They said that's a stupid thing. You could only play who you play. But this year, Schlemmer or myself cannot post anything remotely positive about this Raider team that's going to be playing later tonight. And watch, they're going to lose now because I'm talking all this smack. But I can't. I could post, man, the Raiders looked good, and it's, yeah, well, they play in a horrible conference. Yeah, well, play somebody. How come, let's see what they do that in the A10. I'm like, let's rewind a year ago. Weren't you guys so pissed off that anytime, UD wins another one, moving up the top 10, Ohio State fans, yeah, well, you play the A10. You guys hated that. So why do you do it? Why you hold Wright State to a standard that you don't even hold your own program to? Wright State, okay, why don't you beat somebody? Well, last year, you guys beat nobody. They're the only two legit teams you guys played last year. You lost to. So I'm like, all of those things were thrown in their direction and they hated it, but yet they turn it and spin it and rip Wright State for it. I have no clue why, and it's not all fans. I'm not talking to all UD fans. It's just a certain pocket, the vocal minority that's on the Facebook that like to rip anything they do. Yes, the conference is bad, but I've said this before. If Wright State's only beating these bad opponents by like 2 to 3 points, or let's say 5 to 7 points tonight, I could say, okay, you have something there, but you are literally destroying. 6 games that they've won by 30 or more this year. There's 9 games that they've won by 25 or more. And there's 11 games that they've won by 20 or more. Like, they are literally, yes, you can't help who you play. Yes, the conference is not that good, but you're literally destroying everyone that you play. So I have no clue what the real what they really want to hear is. They could beat a top 25 team. Like, this is what always happens. Years ago, before Scott Nagy got here as the head coach, it was, well, when you make the NCAA tournament, then talk to us. Then Wright State makes the NCAA tournament, and then the NIT after that, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, when you win a tournament game, let us know. Well, and then when they'll win a tournament game, it's like, well, when you get to the Elite Eight, let us know. And then if they get to the Final Four, well, when you get to a national title game, let us know. Like, they are the UD fans, a good pocket of them, not all of them. Okay, I'm not ripping everyone, just a certain obnoxious few that like to move the goalpost, and it drives me up the wall. So that's why I'm like, looking at this spread tonight, Wright State expected to win by 16. I'm already calling it now. They will cover it. They're going to win by more than 16. They're going to blow Milwaukee out, and then it'll be, yeah, well, Milwaukee's bad. Or Wright State will win, they won't cover, and it's like, oh man, you only beat Milwaukee by 7. Like, they can't win for anything, man. Like, so, but the bottom line is right now they need Cleveland State's in first place in that division.
They got Detroit. They got Detroit back to back.
Yeah, they got that Antoine Davis kid that's really good. Yeah. Really, really good. And I'm counting. In fact, I just had him on the podcast this week for the league, and he's averaging like 22 a game over the last like 4 or 5 straight games. They've won 5 straight. Like, Detroit needs to win tonight. They need to win tonight. Because then I'm also hearing, like, there's a lot of, right now, conferences are having to decide, do you take your regular season champion and just make them the regular season title and reward the regular season champion with the auto bid? You got to understand, Cleveland State's in first place in this conference. Wright State's in second. If Wright State finishes the regular season in second, then you play the conference tournament, and the winner of the conference tournament goes to the NCAA tournament with the auto bid. If Wright State passes Cleveland State to the next, there's only 4 games left. If I'm that conference, and it's a bad conference, the Horizon League's a bad conference, I say, you know what? I pull a Big Ten with Ohio State. I say, you know what? Congrats, Wright State. You get the auto bid. Boom. Off you go. And then you can decide what to do with the conference tournament after. But like, you should guarantee you. I mean, when you're a small conference like that, and you're not a multi-bid league, you're a one bid league. If you're going to be a one bid league, you better make sure that it's the best of the best that you put in that damn tournament every year. And I don't feel like they do that. Now, that's Wright State's fault too, because they should have been in it last year. Now, there was no tournament last year, but they were the best team in the conference, and they crapped down their leg in the tournament. It ticked me off. And I'm like, no, there's no excuse. You have to show up. And they've been showing up. Hopefully they show up tonight. Otherwise, there's a lot of scrambled eggs on my face. I'm just going to say it. But didn't mean to go on a long tangent about that. But nonetheless, I just wanted to address that, because heading into the final 4 games of the season, and I'm just tired of, I can't even, like, this is why I can't even say, oh yeah, Wright State plays tonight without getting a message or someone chiming in on Facebook or Twitter and having to discredit anything they do. They could win 10 straight. Yeah, well, they wouldn't win 10 straight in the A10. Whatever. They're better than half the damn A10, so I don't want to hear it.
So they got Milwaukee tonight and tomorrow, but then next week they got their normal big rival, NKU. Now, NKU isn't as good as they normally are, right?
Say that again.
NKU, they're not as good as they normally are, right?
No, they're not. They're playing.
They had
better now.
the shooter,
that Tyler Sharp.
Yeah. I wanted to trip him 1 year.
I hated him until I talked to him once. He's actually a really cool dude.
I'm sure he is.
When he's the guy you hate.
Yeah, when you lighten your team up, you don't got no love for him.
No. Matt he's like, I put the quarter in. Justin. Sorry. Put the quarter in, off I go. But no, I think they cover. He says stats don't lie. Justin Focus, yes or no, brother? Stats don't lie about what? I'm telling you the stats, and you're taking the stats and you discredit the stats. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But anyways, so the Reds released their spring training schedule today, Kev, and this Red spring training was originally, you were supposed to see the first Red spring training game on February 27th. You have to wait a little longer, 24 hours. February 28th now is going to be the Reds' first spring training game, so keep that in mind. And look, at this point, and I don't know about you, but like a lot of the games used to be earlier in the day, but a lot of these are at night now. A lot of these are more in the evening. Like the Reds' first spring training game on the 28th is a 1:05 against Cleveland. And then now a lot of these are mountain, whatever time over in Arizona, but still. So I'm just saying some of that's a little bit different. Look, I don't care. Look, spring training, it's spring training. I don't really care about how close the games are. I'm just excited to see the talent out on the field, and the Reds are going to have to prove that they're going to be a better hitting team this year. I don't think you get all those answers in spring training. But to me, at this point, I look at this damn window, I see all this snow. I just want something that's showing me that we're, on the horizon of warm weather. And to me, that's always baseball. And spring training baseball always makes me feel better inside. So there you go.
I was reading an article, and they said something about not bullpen, but closer by committee. Where are you at with that?
I don't like it. I don't like the closer by committee. I think it's a lazy thing to do. I mean, look, this is why I don't like when baseball tries to be you have all these managers now trying to be the smartest man in the room. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mariano Rivera is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He's the best of all time for a reason. It's because he had a role. Mariano Rivera would not be a Hall of Famer in today's baseball because, we might use him today, but I don't know. Let's roll the dice. Let's see. Let's pick out of a hat who's going to go out. The David Bell approach. Because, again, this is where we talked the other day about the advanced analytics and the story that it tells. It should be a tool. It should not be the way. You should not, it should not be as so robotic as David Bell whenever you have a situation where, when this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do this. And when that happens, you do that. And again, you should use these analytics, what the numbers are telling you. It should tell a story. But I think your gut has to tell you, okay, overall, his, he's hitting 212 on the season, but over the last 10 games, he's hitting 340. You'll let him hit. You'll let him play through you. I don't care. This is why I hate when we get to like July and August and we're using the full season's worth of stats to justify whether we bat a guy or not. What are you doing it's just like in life. What have you done for me lately, right? Mm-hmm. What have you done for me lately? And David Bell doesn't manage that way. And that when we talk about managing a game with your gut, that's what the gut used to be. Yes, you have the numbers to tell a story, but what's your gut telling you? Well, common sense is telling you the kid's rolling right now. So the closer by committee thing, I think that's a lazy approach, and it's an approach by teams who are cheap. It's an approach of there are real closers out there, and you don't want to go pay them. Now, the kid they just got from Washington that won the World Series a few years ago with them is pretty good. Not good now. He struggled the last couple of years he's been hurt. But, they won't use him as a set closer. I forgot the reliever they got last year that they didn't even use. Because, again, it was just that I have no clue. They went when this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do that. Instead of just rolling out the talent, letting the talent do their thing. Stop taking out pitchers in the fifth inning unless they need to be. Stop taking them out in the fourth inning. All of that. It just drives me nuts. That's what, David Bell makes me want to turn off Reds games. He makes me want to turn off Reds games. And it's annoying because when we had him on the show when he first got hired, he talked all of this. Oh no, analytics are important, but I'm a baseball guy. I go with the game off my gut and blah 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 blah. Okay, where's that attitude at now, champ? Because we haven't seen that once. I haven't seen him go with his gut once. In fact, the only time I like David Bell is when he's actually standing up for his players and going at the umpire and showing some kind of emotion. The only time I see emotion out of him is when he pops off on an umpire. That's the only time I've seen him show emotion is that. Other time, he just has that dry, dull look on his face like, well, we got to wait to see what the manual says to do now. You asked one question, and I gave you a 20-minute answer, so there's that.
You talk about the analytics approach to baseball, but do you see a market correction where we do get baseball going back to its roots where it's off of feel and off of gut? reaction of how the game is going, because that's why I loved the game when I was a kid. But like you said, anybody can do that if it's saying just read a piece of paper and go off of what the piece of paper tells you to do. Like, I don't think that's really managing. Like, it's just reading a piece of paper and just spitting out what it tells you to do. I don't think that's really coaching your guys up and managing the situation.
That's why Schlemmer would always say coach computer, because you're literally going off of what your iPad's telling you to do. The iPad says when this guy's up, you have to do this. When this guy's pitching, you need to put this guy in. Like Michael Lorenzen, or not Lorenzen, but Jesse Winker. He's a prime example of, I get that he doesn't hit lefties well, but I would continue to let him hit lefties, especially early in the season. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, he doesn't hit lefties well, so we're never going to let him face a lefty. Mm-hmm. But he's one of our best hitters. I am sorry, but you cannot be considered one of the team's best hitters if you have to be taken out of a game every time a lefty comes in. My thing is what do these guys do in the offseason? I would be get in the cage and hit against, have a lefty throw to you the entire offseason. Figure it out. You're a damn pro. And you can't be considered one of the best hitters on the team if you have to be taken out of a lineup every time a left-handed pitcher comes into the lineup. That drives me nuts as far as that goes. But to me, let them go up, the average show he can't hit a lefty. Well, he needs to learn, so he's going to face lefties all through spring training. Spring training, Winker, in fact, we're going to do the opposite. We're only going to put you in the lineup when there's a lefty on, and you're going to figure out how to hit damn lefties. But the numbers show he doesn't hit lefties well, so we never put him in for that. And how are you supposed to get better at that if you never face lefties? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to get a course correction, because you got former players now, managers like Aaron Boone. He's the manager of the Yankees. Sandy Alomar was the manager of the Cleveland baseball team last year when Tito was out and everything like that. And those guys really played the game and they really went by the gut. So I think, like we talk about all the time, like analytics is a tool, but that gut feeling, and I think they can get back to that gut feeling when you get more guys that have played the game, managing the guys and managing the teams from like the early 2000s, everything. Once they find themselves in roles to manage these teams around baseball, because at some point those guys are going to tell the front office dudes like, look, man, this is how the game is truly played. This isn't played on a computer. This is played on the field and played on how people are performing now, not based off of their whole length of their career. Like if a dude's on a hitting streak, you don't take him out. Like you said 1,000,001 times last summer when we was talking about the Reds, like when guys are rolling into pitching and you just take them out just because oh man, the pitch count is high. Like, well, you're not only robbing the player of a moment, but you're robbing the fans too. Like if a dude has a no-no into the seventh and you literally take him out the game, what are you doing? Like, this is his moment, his time to shine. And God forbid that there's fans there and you actually do it. Dude, they paid a lot of money and they want to see something cool. Seeing a no-no is cool. So I really hope that we get to a market correction where we can dial back on some of this analytical thinking.
The reason it's not going to happen, Kev, is because there's so much money spent on an analytics department. I mean, millions of dollars is spent on an analytics department. People that have literally their only job is to come up with as many stories to tell with the numbers, and that's their job. So there's too much money invested in that. And you talked about Aaron Boone. I remember when Aaron Boone was hired by the Yankees, we had Tim Kirkshin on, and Tim Kirkshin, for being an older reporter, he's realized that, hey, you have to embrace the analytics, otherwise the game's going to hurt you. And he talked about Aaron Boone, and Aaron Boone had no choice but to be an analytics guy. Like, he's even an analytics guy. I can't sit there and say I watch 162 Yankees games to know that he does exactly what David Bell does, but I don't sense that other managers get ripped as much as David Bell. I think that there's managers who utilize it, but then there's others that are the analytics. David Bell lives and breathes by them, and I think that too much of it can kill you, and that's exactly what's happened with the Reds over the last couple of years. Let's talk about those hitting woes last year. Mm-hmm. There's a lot, and Schlemmer and I have talked about this a million times, and ball players I've spoken with, in fact, some former Reds I've even talked to have said, you have to have a role. You need to be hitting the 2 spot, you need to hit the 5 spot, you need to be a leadoff guy, you need to know what you are, and if you don't know what you are, it's hard to get settled in and get comfortable in the plate. When one day you're leading off, and the next day you're hitting 9th, and one day you're hitting in the cleanup spot, and the next day you're hitting number 2. You have Joey Votto, who's not a good hitter anymore, and you continue to keep him in the top 4th of the lineup, which is, for a guy that is so obsessed with the analytics, continues to keep Votto, he ignores what the analytics are telling him about Votto. It drives me up the wall. But continuously not playing Moustakas in the same spot in the lineup every day can hurt you. Castellanos, the same thing. I think it impacts, Winker and Suarez and those guys. And the biggest blunder that they made was the Shogo Akiyama edition. When they signed him, it was a big deal for one. It was a big name Japanese player that they were able to get the media coverage for. It was awesome. And he was one of the best hitters, in that league over there. I mean, he was being compared to Ichiro. I mean, he's that good. You would not have, I think the Reds are ruining him because of how they're using him. He was brought over to be the Reds' leadoff guy. He was supposed to be the leadoff hitter. The Reds have been looking for a leadoff hitter. He was supposed to be the leadoff hitter that they hoped Billy Hamilton could have been. Billy Hamilton had the speed. He had the speed of a leadoff hitter. He had the tools of a leadoff hitter for if he can get on base and just let the 2, 3, and 4 guys do their thing. Billy should have scored a lot of runs, which, by the way, he just signed a minor league deal with your Cleveland baseball team. So he's back in Ohio.
Come on.
But they bring Shogo Akiyama over. I remember the very first game of the regular season last year, which happened in late July, the 60-game season. Remember I told you I'm so pumped for Shogo. He's my new favorite player. He was fun to
get that tattoo.
He was fun to watch in spring training. I was so pumped, and then he wasn't even in the lineup on opening day. I'm like, you spent all that money on him. You brought him over here to be your leadoff hitter. And don't tell me, he had a bad spring training, so he wasn't our leadoff hitter. Everyone had a bad spring training. No one, you mean spring training from back in March? It's July, you morons. Like, what do you mean? So, and then they didn't start him. They pinch hit him late in the game. And then he plays the next day, Kev, but he's not a leadoff hitter. He's hitting down at the bottom of the order. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he never got comfortable. And then they put him in the leadoff spot late in the season, and then he got comfortable. And then he started rolling. And I wonder why that is. So it drives me nuts. There are things that David Bell does that, when people talk about, Moustakas, he underperformed. Castellanos didn't do this. Castellanos was actually one of their best hitters last year. It drives me nuts. I think David Bell really hurts this team when they try to get things going. It drives me up the wall. I'm going to try and be, optimistic heading into this season. I think it's going to help. I think that here's the other thing too, with why I think the Reds struggled last year. I think they were one of those impacted by, spring training, 6-month gap season. Mm-hmm. There was you're practicing at Great American Ballpark, but it's not the same thing. Right. They're going to get live in-game reps for spring training here. I think they did one game with the Tigers in spring training last year, in July, before the season started. You're going to get a full spring training. We just got the schedule today, 30 spring training games or 29 or 28 spring training games. 28 spring training games for these guys to get prepared for the 160-game regular season. I think that's going to help big time, going straight from spring training right into the regular season without that gap in between, because he had a good spring. Shogo looked good in the plate in the spring, and apparently they didn't feel, they weren't comfortable with him. But David Bell, he's a leadoff hitter. That's why you signed him. I remember when they brought him in that the Reds finally get their leadoff hitter, and then you don't even use him as a leadoff hitter. I don't understand it. Joey Votto's not a two-spot hitter. He should be hitting at the bottom. I would love Joey Votto at the 6 or 7. I think he's perfect for the 6 or 7. I just don't get it, but we shall see. The bottom line is the lineup's still pretty dang good.
We'll see.
The lineup's still pretty dang good for the Cincinnati Reds. Coming up here in hour number 3, a little Valentine's Day type of swing here. We're going to go look quarterback by quarterback, and we want to know, for everyone that's going to be celebrating Valentine's Day this weekend, we need to know these quarterbacks for these teams. How happy are they? How satisfied are they with their partner right now heading into Valentine's Day weekend? Their partner being their teams. Do these quarterbacks look at their team and love their team? Or are they just trying to get out of this relationship? And we're going to find out. Are these quarterbacks married to their team, or are they the side piece to the team? We're going to find out just how committed these teams are to these quarterbacks coming up here at the top of the hour, 5 o'clock. Daniel Cormier, that interview is up and loaded and ready to go. So head to your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store, download that and take a listen. UFC 258 tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, the big one. We'll talk about that more coming up later on. The J.J. Watt thing, I didn't get to all of that real quick. I want to follow up on that, Kev. Eric Pugh on Facebook says, Watt is why I think of Watson like I do. Had a once-in-a-lifetime talent on the D-line like Watt, and he was surrounded by top talent on that defense. They had arguably the best wide receiver in the league as well, and guess what? Didn't win nothing. Now all of a sudden the whole narrative is Watson is a top 5 franchise quarterback, and it's all the owner's fault. He's not wrong. He did have, there's been great wide receivers in Houston. They've had great defenses in Houston. But I don't think how long's Watson been there? He hasn't been there long enough for
4
me to,
years.
4. That's not long enough for me to look. I think that Watson didn't do enough when they had all those pieces at that time, and then Houston didn't do enough when they had Watson, if that makes sense at the end. I think that there's mutual blame. I think both sides are wrong here. I think both sides have fumbled this. This is why I'm laughing too. And I heard them talk about it on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin this morning about, yes, Deshaun's a top talent, but let's be clear. All these bad teams that are saying, let's get Deshaun, Houston was a bad team and they couldn't win with Deshaun. So acting like Deshaun's just going to go take over at quarterback for a bad team and all of a sudden they're going to be good. The Jets are out. Like the Jets make zero sense. The Jets wanting Deshaun Watson, fine, that may make you feel good about having a quarterback, but Houston has a quarterback and look how dysfunctional they are. I just think that, no, Deshaun Watson is not, send to a team and they're instantly good. I don't think that's the case. I think he needs a good situation, but to be fair, I think most do.
Yeah.
I like Deshaun. I just don't think he's in the same category as Deshaun Watson or as Patrick Mahomes. But I see what he's saying. I think there's enough blame on both sides. I don't think both, capitalized on what both had at the time.
I mean,
except he did get paid, so he wins that one.
I mean, he took his team to the playoffs 3 times, and
Jared Goff? I mean, I didn't hear you praising him for taking his team to Super Bowls and everything else.
I ain't got no problem with Jared Goff. I think he all right. He good. I mean, shoot, he did. He led his team to a Super Bowl.
He's done more than Deshaun Watson.
For sure. He led his team to a Super Bowl, and in that season, he was great. He was great in that season, and he capitalized by cashing out to a great contract. I just think that everything that's going on in Houston, more and more stuff is coming out, and it's quite alarming when, your face of the franchise, both your faces of the franchise, and veterans, and, Andre Johnson are coming out talking about the new ownership. This isn't like the ownership. This isn't Mr. McNair that owned the team when Andre Johnson was there. This is the new one. This is his son. And I think there's a lot to say about when second generations get teams, because we can look
Mike
at
Brown's online too.
I really didn't mean to set you up like that, but I guess I did.
That was excellent. I appreciate that.
But I mean, you can look at everything that's going on with the Knicks in previous years, and now that James Dolan is taking a step back and everything like that, it's looking like they might have their stuff together and everything like that. But like second generational teams, they're not the same as their fathers that bought these teams and scrapped and clawed and did all these business moves to make their team what it was. Like, they don't have to do that. So I think there's definitely something going on behind the scenes. Obviously, everything that's going on with they had 3 GMs over the last 4 years. Obviously, Deshaun is unhappy. You got Hopkins traded. You gave away all your picks. We've been back and forth around the moon about it. There's something going on in the water with the Houston Texans that nobody wants to be there anymore.
But why sign a contract a year ago? Not even a year ago. We're less than a year removed. It's not like Houston just became dysfunctional overnight. That's why I don't get it. I don't get it. The Deshaun thing. Like, you can't, for us regular folk, I have friends all the time. I tell them, if you hate your job, quit. I'm tired of hearing you bitch about it. Oh, you signed a contract extension. Cool. Don't complain to me about your job then, because you're choosing to stay in a toxic environment. Then that's kind of the way I am with Deshaun. I mean, everyone's like, remember, they're people just like us. But then when we try to hold them to how we hold regular people, then everyone like you says, oh, no, you got to get your money. Well, you got your money. Now be quiet then. If not, if you're not happy, you shouldn't have taken the money from them, and you should have taken the money from someone else.
But I just look at contracts as placeholders, because we know people in the radio business who had contracts and something happened and you don't work anymore. But what about my contract? We don't expect the companies to honor those contracts, but we expect the employees to honor those contracts.
Yeah, that's what we have to experience as regular people. So why shouldn't we expect Mr. Deshaun Watson to do the same thing?
But I look at life on all aspects in the same way. I'm not looking at how much money he makes versus how much money I make because I have a contract. It's all relative. It's all relative about what he makes versus what I make. He's providing service to them just like I'm providing a service to Alpha Media. But relative money wise, it don't matter. Is the simple principle is, if a person signs a contract and the place where he's employed terminates that contract, it's wrong. So how come
it's their business? They could do whatever they want. Like it's it's their business. No matter how people try to gather together. We need to change that. The companies can't bully us around. You're fired. Then you go find another business to complain about. No, like it's just that's how business is. It's whether we like it or not. It's
but
not
just because
change.
that's how something is doesn't mean it's right.
Well, no, there's nothing right about even how radio works. We don't work in the
radio is great.
No, radio is awesome.
Listening.
I'm very fortunate to have the job I do, but to sit there and act like our industry doesn't have these very, disheartening ways of handling things. I mean, that's the reality of it. But again, I am not going to sympathize with athletes who have the same challenges they face in their day-to-day lives like we do, except they do it on a much grander stage with a lot more dough on the line. And I would love that, I would kill to make a bad decision like he did, signing for $350 million or whatever the hell it was that he signed with the Houston Texans. If my friends make a mistake, they're making like 75, 80 grand. They're making that mistake. This dude, is what it is.
But it's all relative. Money is relative. Money is relative about what you do and what you provide to the company.
Michael Green says Deshaun didn't complain until after the season. Once they traded Hopkins, didn't do a good job hiring a coach. But no. They traded Hopkins
last
summer. There were more parts going out than coming in. The dysfunction started last season. And this past offseason, there was the talks of the Texans. Oh, man, Deshaun, he ain't going to come back. And then all of a sudden he signs this mega deal before the season starts. So that's why I'm saying is as bad as what he's trying to convince everyone that Houston is, there was a week before the season started that he just felt like it was the happiest. It was like Candyland. It was like Disney World. It was the happiest place on earth. And now he wants everyone to feel sorry for him. You know what? I hope he ends up with the Jets. Don't send him to a winner so that he can get his way and then everyone else try to do the same thing. Nope.
Got no trade clause in his contract. Shouts out to his agent.
Shouts out to the team who doesn't have to trade him either. So
yeah, I'm just saying. But
I'm just saying,
like these things like that further let you know that they don't know what they're doing because they actually gave a player some type of leverage when normally the teams always have the leverage. And then they release.
But then teams are horrible if they don't give players leverage. It's they're bullying the players. Then they give the players the leverage, and then it works against them. And then you wonder why no one gives those players the leverage.
And then they release their greatest player of all time when they could have attempted to trade him. Maybe they weren't going to be able to trade him, but they don't even attempt to trade him, so you don't even get anything for him. So this is further evidence that they don't know what they're doing.
Look, I don't think they were looking to get anything for him. That was a cap dump. I mean,
but you can try. You can try before you just go ahead and release them. You don't even try. You don't even see if somebody's willing to take on that money for 1 year.
The reason this wasn't a big deal in Houston today that he got released is because really this was supposed to happen. Everyone knew that he wasn't going to be returning next season anyways in Houston. Yes, they could have got something for him. I don't think he's worth a first or a second rounder. So
yeah, but I mean anything.
But I think people are just looking for anything to rip on Houston for right now. Deshaun's not the victim here. I'm just saying he's not the victim. There's victims. Everyone plays a role in this. I don't feel bad for Deshaun Watson. I just don't. Like, you signed the deal. I'm not saying you have to stay, but don't try to convince me that it's that bad there when just not even a year ago you thought it was good enough to sign a contract with him. Not saying you have to stay, but don't bitch as much as what you're doing.
I don't think he said anything.
Oh, he's throwing his little tantrum. He's doing what high school girls do. Oh, I'm going to take you out of my profile picture. Oh, I'm going to block you on social media. Oh, I'm going to be passive aggressive. I'm going to put cryptic things on. I'm like, my stepsister does this all the time. Huh?
When has he done this?
That's all he's doing on Twitter and social media. Everything.
Well, I don't follow the young man, so I wouldn't know. That's why I'm asking you.
There you go. See, kid or no. All right, hour 3 next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Why would I quit my 9 to 5 to start a 9 to who knows when gaming company? Or eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Oh, I gotta get that. How could my favorite tech be an app that helps run my business? No offense, smartphone. None taken. Or fill my garage with enough servers to power a small country? It's because I wanted to make it big in gaming. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com. These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call, but managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS. Savings vary. Not all patients eligible for savings. Delivery restrictions apply. Visit cvs.com for details.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
As the Ohio General Assembly gets to work debating the governor's newly released executive budget, our students can't afford to be left out of the discussion. We urge you to contact your lawmakers and let them know education funding and finally addressing the state's unconstitutional school funding formula must be their top priority.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages with merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, bonus programs, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
You could continuously cough for hours on end, or you could take Delsym Cough. Delsym Cough gives you 12 cough relief hours. Visit Delsym, DELSYM.com. Use as directed.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, good evening, officer. A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, I'm a catch, more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text.
Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
So interesting news that just came out of the world of college football just about 15 minutes before the show started today. This does impact the Ohio State Buckeyes a tad. It's a quarterback transfer.
Really?
Not Ohio State's quarterback, though. Oregon Ducks quarterback Tyler Show, whatever the hell his name is. He started all 7 games in 2020, but he's moving for the Oregon Ducks, but he's moving on as a grad transfer. So Oregon, just since Justin Herbert left, really, we don't know who the next heir apparent is there in Oregon as far as that goes. Like we knew when Trevor Lawrence left Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei, there we go, finally said it perfectly, transitioned perfectly. You kind of knew what was next for them. Although you kind of don't know what's next for Ohio State, but you do. You know who the guys are. Oregon right now really struggling. They remind me of USC right now. Ever since Sam Darnold left USC, it's been tough for them to really get it right. JT Daniels burnt out slightly, but he transfers. He's at Georgia, and he's playing real well for Georgia. In fact, Georgia has a ton of expectations heading in because of the stability from JT Daniels at quarterback. So USC, Oregon, others, it's interesting to see how this pans out.
I know USC has Slovis. He was all right last year. He was pretty good as a true freshman, but, that was kind of the reason Daniels transferred, because Slovis taking off as a freshman. So he's coming into his second sophomore year with everybody getting a free year eligibility. I know that Anthony Brown, I believe his name is, transferred from Boston College last year. So, I would assume he's in the driver's seat to be the quarterback.
Yeah, Anthony Brown. Yeah, they lost in Oregon. They lost like 34-17 in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl to Iowa State. With Matt Campbell, the greatest coach of all time, apparently. I've never bought in the Matt Campbell thing. Every time, Alabama's, the job's open. Oh, Matt Campbell. Ohio State's open. Oh, Matt Campbell. Stay at Iowa State. Anyways. But he completed 7 to 9 passes for 79 yards and an interception. So that's your quarterback. So, don't worry, no more Sean Wade. So they might have a secondary that can actually, stop this quarterback. So we shall see what happens. No,
you are on one in this segment. You're taking shots at everybody.
Look out,
taking shots at a young Anthony Brown, taking shots at Sean Wade. Who else you take shots at in the last 30 seconds?
I can do a lot of damage in 30 seconds. That's what she said. Anyways, my point is about all this is, look, we think Oregon is this big non-conference matchup for Ohio State, but how big is it actually? There's a lot of time between now and next college football season, but I think we're just looking at, a premier program from a Power 5 conference. But overall, I don't look at Oregon as this big non-conference game for Ohio State. It's a must-win. You got to win these non-conference matchups. It's a good one to have on the schedule. I'd rather watch Ohio State Oregon than Ohio State Miami of Ohio or Ohio State Bowling Green. But I'm not just saying this because of this quarterback transfer. But man, these Pac-12 schools, they need to figure it out. I'm getting impatient with that conference. What is going on over there? Like, you have so much talent over there. There's really no excuse. And it's not just like 1 or 2 teams. It's the conference as a whole. I just don't get what's going on over there on the West Coast in the Pac-12. I really don't. To be honest, if you take the Ohio State out of the Big Ten, they look chaotic at times too.
That's what I was just about to say.
You ever thought about if Alabama left the SEC, that's still the premier conference in college football. If Ohio State leaves the Big Ten, let's take Ohio State out of the Big Ten. Pac-12, Big Ten, which conference is better?
Big Ten.
Still with Penn State and Michigan, right? But not much better, but better. Penn State and Michigan are still better than they're performing.
I wouldn't put Michigan in there. I would say Penn State and Wisconsin before I would say anything.
And Wisconsin's taken a step back too over the last couple of years. They haven't been your typical Wisconsin team since the mid 2010s. But yeah, like the Big Ten would be but the Pac-12 is a disaster right now, and it's uncalled for. You have Oregon, you have USC, UCLA should be better than what they are. I just don't get it. There's way too much talent over on the West Coast. I mean, when we in the East Coast brag about all the time, maybe that's what it is. All the talent is leaving the West Coast and coming to play for Alabama. They're coming to play for Ohio State, and those that 20 years ago, all that talent stayed over there.
Yeah, I mean,
those guys never left California.
Yeah, you look at Najee Harris, a kid from Oakland. You don't imagine him leaving the state of California to come all the way to Alabama to play college football. He was in school for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So in years past, he's going to be a USC Trojan. But I equate a lot of this to the college football playoff, and because now we have is win it all or you're nothing mentality that is infiltrated college football. So now it's really is beyond the haves and have-nots. It used to be the haves and have-nots, but now it's really Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson world. And that's just how it is right now. And there used to be a day where like, all right, man, we actually thought that Wisconsin could jump up and bite Ohio State. But in the reality of the situation, now if Ohio State loses to Wisconsin, we're going to throw a hissy fit and say that they're not on our level. And it's not the SEC is this big bad monster. It's Alabama that's this big bad monster, because these other teams, they all right. They all right because everybody's going to say, SEC fans are going to talk about, oh, man, LSU just won the national championship, Joe Burrow, and they had the best offense since sliced bread and everything like that. But it was 10 years before you got another one.
Another one.
And then 10 years before that. So you're a program every 10 years? Is that what it is? Or we can talk about Georgia, 1983. You weren't born in 1983. You know what I'm saying? So that's the last time they've been on the big stage.
But see, that's why I don't believe, to your point, people keep blaming the college football playoff, but do you think that if you expanded the college football playoff, that talent is going to start going back to those schools? Like Texas can't get a good coach. USC hasn't been able to get that elite coach since Pete Carroll left. Ohio State went from Tressel to Urban Meyer. So, of course, they kept rolling. It's not like, the rich keep getting richer. It's that the rich can't seem to figure it out. Like, I blame USC. I don't think, too many excuses, I think, are being made for these programs who aren't, living up to expectations. Oh, the playoff, all the talent goes there. Well, that's your problem to figure out.
Yeah, for sure.
If Ohio State, Alabama, if they could figure it out, why can't you figure USC? Why can't you figure it? Like, I don't feel bad for USC. That's your problem. UCLA, they've always had USC to worry about taking talent, but so I'm not going to put them in that comfort. But UCLA, they should not, or USC should not be losing the talent that they are. And even Texas isn't not getting talent because, the college football playoff. Texas isn't getting talent because there hasn't been a coach there since Mac Brown that anyone trusts and feels like there's a national championship caliber program there. But
to be clear, that program was headed to a mountain when Mac Brown was there. Like his last 4 years, they were Alamo Bowl team. They weren't playing for the big prize either.
Well, still, clearly the problem isn't him because he takes over North Carolina and they're doing just fine. So I'm just saying, the bottom line is I don't feel bad for Texas. You were the face of the state of Texas when it comes to college football, and you're letting talent slip out left and right. I applaud Texas for going after Urban Meyer, by the way. I thought that made a lot of sense. I thought they should have, but Urban, I feel like Urban's not as competitive. He doesn't have that killer instinct anymore. The fact that Ohio State's why he wouldn't take a college job, I lost respect for him for that. I'm like, that's soft. You are a soft individual. Where's that? How could you be a true winner? Like Nick Saban? Oh, he don't care. If he left and retired from Alabama and got the itch to coach again, he would come right back into college and he would go pluck everything he could from Alabama because that's why he's the greatest of all time. And that's why Urban Meyer's just
He's just
He's just
So I'm going to be defending Urban Meyer now?
He's because
I'm normally the Urban Meyer basher.
The greatest coaches are the ones that are cutthroat when it comes to trying to do everything you can to win. And I'm not talking about cheating. I'm talking about, we'll worry about friendships later. We'll worry about friendships later. But Urban Meyer, you didn't take a coaching job because, I didn't want to take Mariotti from the Buckeyes. And, man, I couldn't do that to Ryan Day. He's just so cute, the Papa John's looking guy. He's just so adorable. I couldn't do that to them. So he gets the job at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then again, loyalty. I'm going to go take this racist coach from Iowa over here because I can't take the real guy I want because I'm just so loyal to the Buckeyes and Mariotti and blah, 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 blah. It's soft. I lost respect for Urban Meyer. I want the cutthroat guy that is going to go. You know what? I would have respected him so much, Kev, if he would have just slammed the doors open at the Woody Hayes Center and said, you, and you, let's go. Kerry Combs, let's go. Mariotti, let's go. I mean, wipe
some
clean
Ohio
house.
State fans would have been packing Kerry Combs' bags.
And that's fine. But, that Kerry Combs, and see, we're so fickle because, and no pun intended.
Shouts out to Coach Fickle. What's up, man?
Yeah, and Urban, you stay at Cincinnati. So
yeah, right. You want that defense fixed, they might want to dial him up.
Well, if he was so good, then he would. Never mind. Okay, so point is,
this dude.
I don't know why I'm in this mood now.
You are in a mood, man. I don't know what happened, man. We were off to such a great show, and now you're in a Kenner mood. So let's continue.
Kenner mood. I would love to trademark that. But no, I'm serious though. Like if, I wanted that cutthroat, and if Buckeye fans get mad at that, so be it. Like, I don't care if Buckeye fans get mad. I'm really bummed that Urban Meyer, I would have respected the hell out of him. And I think the buzz about him going to the NFL is there already, but I think it would have been even bigger. I think if Urban would have showed that cutthroat mentality of, yeah, listen, OH, baby, I believe the scarlet and gray, but me being loyal to you does nothing for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and I'm going back to our conversation from earlier in the show, but that's all I'm saying. I thought that was a weak move. I thought it was a sign of weakness. Nick Saban wanted to have done that. Nick Saban is a guy that looked at a veteran quarterback in the national championship game and said, we're sitting your ass for a freshman. I love those cutthroat guys. I don't like these guys that are so hugging it out, so worried about people's feelings and stuff. No, coach to win. Coach to win. And then you don't have to have a fan base pretending that you're Alabama. You actually could be Alabama.
So fix college football. How would you fix college football then?
I don't think it's broken. Well, here's how I'd fix it, and it will never happen. We need to stop calling the MAC a D1. We need to stop calling them they're not D1. The lowest I would consider even competitive with the big Power 5 schools is the American Conference. And you know how I feel even about the American Conference. We need to stop. I mean, I don't like the hypocrisy of people in college football when, it's not fair. It's not fair for the little guys. Bowling Green is just as much of a little guy as Cincinnati. So if you're going to fight for Cincinnati to get in the college football playoff, why are we totally ignoring that Bowling Green will never be a college football playoff team? Miami of Ohio with Big Ben and take the 3 best Steelers he's played with and rewind back to college. They would not be a college football playoff team. So I think we need
Antonio Brown on one side, Hines Ward on the other. I like my chances.
So my point is that I don't like the hypocrisy. We got to change the playoff for the little guy, the Bearcats. I'm just using them as an example. Bowling Green's a little guy. Miami of Ohio is a little guy. They're a little guy. So to me, to change up everything for the American Conference while still outcasting a good chunk of your Division I schools, I just don't get it. And then I've heard Keith Byers say, well, and he's agreed with me about the realigning the D1 whole mantra of it, but Bowling Green, you think that the MAC is going to go for that? You think the MAC's going to be like, oh, we would love to go to be, considered not D1? No, that's how they make their money, right? But they're not really D1. I don't care. They're D1, but they're not D1. How can you be D1 when you step foot out on the field with Ohio State and look at the gap in talent? Now, that, to be fair, Rutgers has a gap in talent between Ohio State and themselves. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that football there's no such thing as a fair playoff model for the playoff or for college football, Kev. There's just not. And it's not meant to have 68 teams like basketball. I don't think that there's a playoff out there that's going to appease everybody. If you expand to 8, Kev, how does that help the MAC? How does that help Bowling Green? How does that help the Mountain West? How does that, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that help those? It just doesn't.
I think college football can be fixed with something that is very going to be off the wall for a lot of people to hear, but I think they should reduce the number of scholarships. I think that it is currently at 85. I think if you reduce scholarships to 75 or maybe even 70, then you will get the athletes more spread out.
I actually like that. I don't think I've ever heard you say something that I'm like, that's a good point, Kev. That it happened today.
Thank you.
Good job of coming up with something. No, I'm just joking. But I actually really agree with that. Finish your point. And then
I remember back in the 90s, I believe it was the Nebraska teams of the Tommy Frazier teams and everything like that. They literally would have guys, this was before the whole 5-star and everything like that, parade All-American guys who never sniffed the field until they're like junior and senior year. Like and when they would be blowing teams out 85-3, 85-10, running the wishbone, is because they had a abundance of talent. And those days they had 100 and 110 scholarship players. So you just racked up talent all over the place. Now you're in the middle of Nebraska, so you're getting, your best O linemen in the country from Nebraska and Wisconsin and Iowa, and then they're going down to Florida to pick up a Tommy Frazier. They're going out to California to pick up another running back and everything like that. So I think if you reduce the number of scholarships, so say Ohio State, they can't get freaking 5-10 5-star receivers because there's not enough space. The cap space is eliminated. So that in turns makes somebody like, man, they don't have any space for me at Ohio State. Man, I really love it in Ohio. I'm going to go to UC, or I'm going to go to Indiana, or whomever. They would go somewhere else, as opposed to just stockpiling all this talent and keeping it and holding it until it's their turn. I think if you reduce the number of scholarships, you will open it up for more teams to be better, and then you will get more competitive football. Because I don't look at it as in like, oh man, the college football is ruining the game. I just want good football. I want a competitive situation, because the worst thing in the world for me is to watch a championship game and it's not competitive. Like, obviously, I'm an Ohio State fan. I want them to win. But at least when they lose, if they lose, I want it to be a good game. This championship game wasn't entertaining. It wasn't a good game after Alabama scored 28.
But
it
I
was
don't
a
think
wrap.
No.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that has to do with that. I'm just saying, like, when you have a more competitive balance throughout the college football landscape and everybody has a chance to get a player, and you're not saying like, oh man, you guys have to go there to TCU because to make it even, to make it fair, you're just reducing the amount of players that a Texas or Texas A&M can stockpile. So that's where I'm looking at, because it hasn't always been 85 scholarships. There were times where it was 100 scholarships per team in college football.
Prime example here. These three quarterbacks were at Georgia, or this JT Daniels is at Georgia now. He was at USC before, but Justin Fields and Jake Fromm.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have less of those situations.
Right.
You're going to have less. Now, that one's, I shouldn't use that as an example. Justin Fields came in as a freshman. Jake Fromm, you're always going to have a freshman that comes in probably at an awkward time of, hey, man, listen, you're next up, though. So I'm going to take that off my list. That's a normal situation to find yourself in. You already have an established quarterback that's well within his 3-year run, and then in comes to Justin Fields. By the way, I don't rip Ohio State for not playing Joe Burrow back in the day, just like I don't rip Georgia for not playing Justin Fields. And ultimately, how much better? I mean, Justin Fields talent-wise better than Jake Fromm, but ultimately, did he accomplish more than Jake Fromm? No, he didn't. They're about the same for how that goes. And depending on what Justin Fields does in the NFL, it might be a wash as far as that goes. But Cardale Jones, JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow. You look at Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones. That happens at Ohio State. That happens at Alabama. That happens way too much across the country, where you have, for instance, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones. You probably have two of those three that should have been at Ohio or that at Alabama. One of them could have been elsewhere starting. But you could stockpile quarterbacks. Right. Alabama could stockpile quarterbacks. But you know what? You really need defensive linemen. You really need defensive backs. And if you only had 50 scholarships versus 80, you might not be having as many stars at different positions backpiled, or what's that called? Stockpiled. Yeah, there we go. Backpiled. What the hell? Stockpiled. I think, you know what? That's a great point. There's so much talent stockpiled at these programs that could be playing elsewhere. When all the best players in the country are funneled to just a select few schools, and it's not just because of the playoffs, folks. We need to stop blaming the playoff for that. It's what you just said. It's the scholarship allotment. if you eliminate the scholarship allotment or reduce it to 50, and I think it should be 55 or 60, let's say 60, I think coaches have to be a lot more selective with what they have in the chamber at different positions and stop stockpiling talent at certain positions. If you are Ohio State, you don't need to stockpile quarterbacks. You know that you're good enough that, hey, right now we have these two for the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll get another one to come into the next year and a half and have them ready. But look at the situation the Buckeyes are in now. They have 4 elite quarterbacks coming in over the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. They're going to be sitting on 2 to 3 elite quarterbacks that could be playing elsewhere and rising the talent level of college football. So I'm with you. I think it's more of that, Kev, than the playoff.
Yeah,
people need to stop blaming the playoff.
That's where I'm at with it, because I forget who was it. Yeah, obviously it's Alabama, because it's always Alabama. I believe it was a 16 recruiting class, right? That had Calvin Ridley
and everybody.
Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and I'm missing one. So all 4 of those dudes, all 4 of them are going to be first round picks. Like, that's insane. And it's all kudos to Alabama and their recruiting. Because, if it was Ohio State, I'd be jumping over the moon too. But I'm just saying, like, if you have a cap, maybe 1 or 2 of them dudes go to, name your school, Mississippi State. I don't know. Just go somewhere else. It makes them.
Does it necessarily help the MAC? No.
I think it will,
over
like
time.
A trickle down
funnel over the years.
Sound like Reaganomics with trickle down theory.
When they go high, you go low.
But I truly
when they go low, you go high. No, I like the other way.
When they go low, you take it to the flow. That's where I'm at with it. But anyway, I think that will really help college football and make it more competitive. And it's not anything taken away from what Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson are doing. I just think it'll be more entertaining to watch, because when you have more people invested in watching your game, it only can grow the game. Because you can't, I know tons of people watching the Ohio State, Alabama, but majority of people are watching that game are hate watching, because there's only Ohio State fans and there's only Alabama fans tuned in to watch those teams win a game. It's a ton of hate watching going on out there. But if you have more competitive games throughout the season leading up to your championship game, that can only make your sport better.
All right, folks, we'll be back in just a few moments. Urban Meyer. I want to get back into that. The decision to bring in Doyle, the strength and conditioning coach from Iowa that was let go due to being physical with players and being racially insensitive. Yeah, again, just an ugly background for Doyle that Urban Meyer should have learned his lesson the first time at Ohio State when he had an assistant coach that had baggage, and he kept that coach anyways, and that baggage came back to bite him in the ass. And now Urban Meyer did not learn from his previous mistakes, because he's put himself right back in that situation. Let's discuss that. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 28. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 18. And tomorrow will be cloudy, a high near 28. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
From shredding to printing, the UPS store does every ing for small business. And this holiday, when the other guys are closing, we're doing another ing altogether, opening. So while we're busy notarizing and copying, consulting and mailboxing, packing and shipping, well, they're not really doing much of